Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
And I'm going to tell you all about it, as well as the before and the after and everything in between. So, hiya. I hope this video finds you well. I hope you're having a good one. I'm going to be telling you about my experience at Sick New World last weekend, as well as, again, the before and after, including, like, what I was doing in Vegas, getting out of Vegas, and all that good stuff. I want to go over everything that I did, just, you know, for my own amusement, but also maybe, hopefully, to encourage others to do something similar if they're on the fence about it, because I'm 28 years old, and this was the first time I've ever done something like this. This was the first time I've ever traveled by myself. I mean, I've, like, traveled in regards to going to airports and going through flights, getting on flights by myself and all that, but this is the first time I've ever been, like, out of town by myself. This was the first time I've ever had my own vacation like this. This was a fully funded experience, and I'll talk about how much money I spent and all that. Yeah, and so I really hope that if there's anything that can be gained from this, it's that someone like me who always thinks about doing things like this but never does because they think, I don't know, I just can't do it or whatever. They get cold feet about it, because I definitely feel that. I suffer from pretty bad anxiety, which is also something that's going to pop up in this story quite a bit. Yeah, if someone's like that, and hopefully they can hear me out about my own experience and then think, oh, I can do this too, because you know what? I believe in you. I do think that you can do this too. I think that what I did, anybody can do. It's just really a matter of having the right resources, frankly. But after that, just say you're going to do it and then do it. I hope that's so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope someone can listen to this and be encouraged to do something similar if they're thinking about it and just kind of don't, just like me. Isn't that right, Mishi? What? Oh, claws got stuck. Wah! Oh, her claw's so sharp. My beautiful, dark, twisted Macy cat. That's right, Macy. She's like a stuffed animal. She's so small. She's such a small cat. Anyway, and also I'm going to be talking about not just Sick New World, but again, like everything about my trip to Vegas, my planning for it, as well as some things that happened after Sick New World. So this video is going to be time-stamped. I'll separate this into 3 main chapters. The first chapter will be the festival preparation and the travel to Vegas, as well as what I did before the festival, which was a sideshow of Bring Me the Horizon and Spiritbox. I went to do that as well. And then there will be the second chapter, which is Sick New World itself, the day of the festival and everything that came with it. And then the third chapter will be kind of the aftermath of it, because something unfortunately happened actually at the festival, which is that I lost my wallet with my ID and my physical cards in it. And so that ended up being a saga in and of itself. So that will be the third part of this, as well as, you know, how I was able to get home, essentially. So that's another thing I hope that someone can maybe take away from this if they find themselves in a similar crisis where they've lost their ID while far from home. Hopefully they can listen to this and get something out of this. This was a learning experience for me, and yeah, I'd like to point out things that like what I did to get out of this, because again, spoiler alert, I'm home now, so it wasn't at the end of the world like I at first thought it might have been. So yeah, so hopefully someone can take something out of this, or just enjoy listening to my experience in and of itself. I understand that this is going to be long. I don't care. It's just what I do. And also, sorry for my appearance right now. I mean, maybe you can't tell too much, but I am very sunburnt, so I look like a racist Native American caricature. So I apologize for that. Yeah, so let's just get into it. So this started in October, I believe. That's when Sick New World tickets went on sale, and I got the 3rd GA tier. And what that means is that I just got a GA ticket for the 3rd price tier. Because what they do is that they sell, I guess, a certain amount of tickets, but they also sell certain amounts of them at certain prices. So there were 4 different tiers of prices for the GA, and there's no difference between any of them aside from price. So you're just spending either less or more because fuck you, frankly. There's no reason for it. They just do that. I ended up having to settle for the second most expensive tier, which ended up being, I believe, $440. Now, a big reason why I want to go over the how much money I spent and all that is because I am by no means a wealthy person. So I'm going to be sharing some numbers and how much I spent on this trip, and I don't want anybody to think like, oh, rich guy right here, look at Mr. Moneybags. Like, no, that is definitely not me. I did not have $440 lying around when I bought my ticket. So the way that I was able to make it work is that the festival actually had a payment plan for its tickets, where you could just drop $20 right there and then pay off the rest of it over 4 months. So I ended up paying, I believe, $106 for the first 3 months and then $113 for the 4th month, which was in February. So I was able to do that, which is good because personally I've never actually even had to make monthly payments like that. Like, I don't own a car. I just give my family money every week for, general things. So doing this during the holidays was actually a pretty big lesson for me as to like how to manage and handle my money, especially since this was happening during the holidays. So that was actually this was actually very useful for me. And also on top of that, I had to get my hotel, of course, for the day of the festival and the however long I'd be in Vegas. I had no idea how long I would be staying in Vegas at first, but this was also helped by the festival itself. They had, I guess, connections to the hotels in the area, of which there are many, of course, and so you could actually book a hotel through Jampack, which was some kind of sponsor for the festival. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, they had hotel bundles. You could actually even get a hotel package with a ticket to Sick New World. I didn't need that, obviously. I just got my hotel separately. So yeah, I got a 2-night stay at Palace Station for Friday and Saturday night. That ended up running me about $400, I believe, or something a little bit more than that. And that was also something that could be paid off monthly, which was about $67 a month, and then the last month was like $59 or so. And on top of that, Jampack even included just a little bit of swag, which arrived like a week or 2 before the festival. And it wasn't anything special or anything. I did get this cap, just a little ball cap, a Sick New World. So, got that, I guess. I didn't wear it to the festival or anything. It fell off, whatever. And also, I got this inflatable water bottle. I have no idea what happened to it, though. I didn't bring it with me. And I think there was something else that I got, but I don't remember. It was just like small stuff, nothing all that interesting. It did also include access to some kind of party that was like some kind of pre-show party. I didn't go to it because I had the Bring Me the Horizon show instead. So I don't really know how that went. I heard some people went and it was like, okay, I guess. No big deal though, but yeah, getting my festival ticket and the hotel was actually fairly easy with these payment plans, because this was altogether like $850. So just that right there, that's about how much it's going to run you if you want to go to this festival for next year, assuming they do it next year. Also, I wanted to mention, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but like I did say that this was the first time I've ever, been out of town by myself before. But this was also like my first festival experience in a really long time. The last time I went to a festival was something that we have in Kansas City, or something we used to have in Kansas City, called Rockfest, which is very similar. It's a 1-day open air festival, but it was like half the size of Sick New World, and it was mostly like butt rock bands that would be playing. Like the headliners would be Five Finger Death Punch or Shine Down or Disturbed or whatever. Although I guess Disturbed would fit with Sick New World. Maybe they'll be headlining Sick New World next year. But yeah, like I've been to lots of concerts by myself. I started doing that a couple of years ago. But yeah, as for festivals, this was also a new thing. So just wanted to mention that. So yeah, that was paying for all of that monthly was not a big deal, even with the holidays and stuff. So we can just flash forward to, or fast forward to March, I believe it was, when I started booking the other stuff, which was my flight in and out of Vegas. So I booked it with Southwest for no reason other than because that's just what I'm used to with my family and all. We just always book Southwest and just don't think about it. And it was actually freaking me out a little bit because, I told my family about this trip and all that, and they were always like, "Oh, get your flight like 6 weeks before you actually have to leave. That's like when that's when prices are the best. They're not going to be too expensive, because the demand will be just right." And so I'm looking around, and I cannot get flights for less than like $500. I'm like, that sounds insane. I was told by my family, who travels way more than me, that it would not be that expensive to fly to Vegas because Vegas is such a hot destination that there's always flights going in and out of it. So I'm like asking them, I'm like, guys, this is so expensive. Is that normal? Should I wait? And they're just like, oh yeah, sorry, I guess you're just kind of fucked there. So I ended up paying like, I believe I promise this isn't just a meme, but I think it was actually $420 for my flight in and out of Vegas. I ended up saving like $100 or $200 because I decided to fly out to Vegas on Thursday and not Friday, and that I was going to leave Vegas on Monday morning. But by Monday morning, I mean like 5 a.m. on Monday morning, like the first flight out of Vegas, essentially. So that did mean I was going to be staying in Vegas for 2 extra nights technically, and I guess maybe the money I was saving with these flights was kind of a moot point because now I got to get hotels for these 2 nights. So yeah, I had to work on that, and yeah, so I actually talked to my friend Yami. Who's a great online friend of mine. He went to Vegas recently, and I've never booked hotels by myself before. I've never done this, so I was just asking him about some things like the resort fees, the deposits, and all that stuff. Because some places would have like really great prices, but then they would hit you with like $150 resort fee or some bullshit like that. So I was asking about like is this normal? Is this legit? And all that. And yeah, and actually, it was actually really great just talking to someone about this because that actually gave me a lot of encouragement to just essentially do this. And what I did is I booked just a couple of pretty inexpensive hotels actually. Fortunately, so Friday and Saturday the hotel prices were absolutely bonkers. Like even the cheap ones would be like $200 a night. So that's why paying $400 for that hotel on Friday and Saturday wasn't like. It wasn't a surprise or anything. That's just how rates were for those 2 days. But Thursday and Sunday were like back to relatively normal pricing, fortunately. So for Thursday, I ended up booking at the Howard Johnson Hotel, and I did that because I thought it would be close to the airport, which I mean it technically was. I'll talk about how I was getting around and all that, and also. For Sunday, I booked at Circus, which everyone knows is like the super cheap hotel in that area. It's literally right next to the festival. And I always heard mixed things about it, but Yami also recommended it to me, and I ended up paying like $30 for that one night. And there was only like a $50 deposit that was due on the night that I'd be checking in. And for Howard Johnson, it was a $100 deposit, which is actually relatively inexpensive compared to some of these other places. So, yeah, so I ended up only spending like $100 on both of these hotels combined. And that was really important because while I was doing this, I was also writing down a budget. Like I was making note of how much money I had at that moment, like after getting my flight. And then how much, I make each week, how much I expect to spend on, just general living expenses each week. So how much, essentially leading up to the festival and how much I expect to have for the festival, how much I plan on spending or should expect to spend on like food, getting around. I have to Uber for a lot of things, all of that stuff. So yeah, and I also included the hotels, but I hadn't booked them at that point. So I actually wrote down like $300. That's how much I expected to spend on hotels for Thursday and Sunday, and then another 200 for the deposits. But instead, I only spent it like 100 booking these hotels, and only had 150 in deposits. So yeah, huge chunk of savings right there, and that ended up giving me the encouragement to get a ticket for the Bring Me the Horizon show on Friday. And I was actually really happy that I booked my flight for Thursday instead of Friday, especially because I'm not super experienced with flying, and I don't know how delays work and all that. I actually there was one time me and my mother were in New York, and our flight back home got delayed by an entire night. So I was thinking possibly worst case scenario, if something really bad happens and my flight gets delayed super long, that's not going to ruin my day for Friday or something like that. Instead, it's just going to affect Thursday. So I felt, that was another reason, that was another advantage of, having my flight out for Thursday and not Friday, just having that extra time, just in case something happened, just in case I needed it. So yeah. Bring Me the Horizon and Spiritbox were doing a show. There were lots of bands at Sick New World that were doing Sideshows just all over Las Vegas, both before and after the festival. But Bring Me the Horizon and Spiritbox are literally, they were the top two bands that I wanted to see at Sick New World. I'm a huge fan of these bands, and Spiritbox only comes into town to open for much bigger bands that I could not give any less of a fuck about, like Shinedown. They toured with them last year, and this year they're touring with Korn and Gojira, and I'm just like, and tickets for that are really expensive, and I'm like, am I going to spend that much money so I could see the opener for 30 minutes? But this show in particular, I don't know how often Bring Me the Horizon would come to KC. This is not a city that a lot of bands actually stop by. It doesn't get a lot of really big tours, or even mid-size or smaller tours, frankly. We get passed over a lot. So this is an opportunity of a lifetime for me. I'm probably not going to get this kind of show in KC ever. So I ended up biting down, and I got a floor ticket for Friday's show, because they were doing two of these side shows, actually, because the first one sold out, so they just figured, all right, let's just do a second one on top of that. And so for Friday's show, I got a floor ticket, and after Ticketmaster's bullshit fees and taxes and all that, I paid $220 for this ticket. Yeah, and like I said, I've been going to shows by myself for, a couple of years now. The most expensive one that I paid for was $70 for Queens of the Stone Age, just for a decent seat for that. And then everything else I go to is a mid-sized show at best, usually smaller. So usually I'm paying $30 max for a concert ticket. So yeah, I'm paying $220 for that. But like I said, it was a once in a lifetime show for me. I don't get opportunities like this very often, and it's slotted into my budget because of how much less I paid for hotels than compared to what I expected to pay. So it was the right place, right time. I did it. So so altogether, just right off the bat, like I said, the hotel was $400, the festival was $440. The getting a flight was $420, so yeah, this is already $1,300 I'm spending just to get to this festival, and then there's another $200 on top of that. So yeah, let's say this is $1,500 at this point right now. Yeah, but also for the record, I because again, I want to be transparent on how not rich I am. I was using my tax return for in March. That's why I started doing this in March and all that. I got my tax return, which every year is $1,400 or $1,500. So that's a massive windfall for me right there, and I used it on this. So, so then it was just a matter of waiting to go. I had to, really make sure I wasn't spending too much money. I wasn't spending, whatever money I had after my living expenses and all that, which ended up being way more difficult than I expected. This really turned me on to how fucking stupid prices are on everything. Because, like, I wouldn't even be trying to spend that much money, and I'd still be blowing, like, $150 a week on just whatever, because it's like everything's so fucking expensive now. Isn't it so cool how we're told that the economy is so great now, but 12 packs of soda that cost like $4 5 years ago are now $10? Wow, isn't that great? I love hearing about how great the economy is because people have jobs now. Yeah, I got a fucking job too. It doesn't pay for shit. Anyway, yeah, so it was just now a matter of just getting to the festival and all. So I left on Thursday, which was, the 25th, I believe. Yeah, I'll mention what I packed. This was my bag. Kind of a small bag, actually. I have something like this in a much bigger size, but I figured it's just me. It's just a couple of days. I'm, going to be out doing stuff. I'm not going to be, bored in my hotel room, so I don't really need a whole lot to entertain myself. I just got my phone. That's it. Just brought changes of clothes for every day. I did plan, what I was going to be wearing to both shows and all that. I don't really dress up or anything. It's just, what band tee am I going to wear that day? That's literally it. Like, I just brought band tees, the jeans that I was already wearing going into Vegas, my cargo shorts, and just a couple of things to sleep in. That was all I really brought. Some pairs of socks. I thought about bringing in a second pair of shoes just in case I lost my shoes at either of these shows. I didn't do that, which fortunately I didn't need to. I probably would next time, though, just in case. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to bring next time just in case because of my lost ID, which, again, we'll get into that. I also brought it's right over here. I brought a cardboard tube because I thought that Sick New World might be selling posters, and I was hoping to get one if they did. Spoiler alert, they did not sell any posters, so it ended up being kind of pointless. And also there's also this in that suitcase. This is a pillow. It's a pillow. It's from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So it's a piece of anime merch that I don't think a lot of people would realize because it's really funny looking. And you can bring it on the flight as well. It's a nice little carry-on thing. Sorry for the coughs. I got really sick 2 weeks ago, like 2 Sundays ago. And even to this day, I'm still dealing with that a little bit. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I was actually I still had a bit of a cough when I was going into Vegas. I still had to blow my nose every hour or two, and whatever came out was usually brown, which is kind of disgusting. And also I deal with pretty bad anxiety often, just for no reason. I just get anxious. I'm always thinking oh, what if something goes wrong? I'm gonna be again, this is the first time I've ever done something like this before. I'm gonna be traveling by myself. Whoa, that's kind of scary when you think about it. I don't know. I just thought about it, everything maybe possibly going wrong, and just got really anxious about that. Even though I try to rationalize in my mind, I'm just I'm doing everything right. I'm not doing anything wrong. Everything's fine. But that's anxiety for you. You just worry about things for no goddamn reason. Which I don't want to get too TMI about this because I know it's not something people want to hear, but it also affected my I'll just say my digestive system in very uncomfortable ways. So I was often making very frequent trips to the bathroom, which was not very fun. So yeah, there was all that. So on top of just clothes that I brought with me, I had a couple of books. I didn't even read them. I actually kind of just brought them as a joke. Long story. What else did I bring? I had Cliff Bars. I just had a box of Cliff Bars that I brought with me just in case I needed a snack in a pinch, because I actually suffer from low blood sugar sometimes, so that can be kind of a scary. I had a prescription. I have a prescription for acne, and I brought this with me, including the box. This is going to be important later on, so I had that. Stuff for showering. I bought small clear bottles that you can take on TSA, so I can actually have these substances without getting in trouble for them. And also, of course, earbuds. This is the case for the earbuds. These are loops. They're just my preferred choice for earbuds. Slip in really easily, bump, and come out really easily. So yeah, I believe that's all that I brought with me. Like I said, didn't really need a whole lot. Just essentially clothes to look nice and cool, like I belong in there. Yeah, so then there was just getting to Vegas. Left on Thursday, like I said. I was very lucky to have a really awesome sister who was able to come over and drive me to the airport, because the family that I actually live with, our cars were fucked for that week, so nobody here could take me. So she was able to come down. We did also, she did have to bring, she did have to pick up her oldest daughter from work. So we did have to make a bit of a stop, and there was also construction, and it was raining that day. So what ended up happening is my flight was for 4:40 p.m. and we left around like 2:45, like 2:45, and we got to the airport at like 4:15, 4:20. So that's like a death sentence for, you know, getting on your flight and all that. And I really got to shout out the new KC airport, because I haven't been in it. I haven't been in the new terminal and all that. I got through security and all that and got to my terminal at 4:37. I got through all of it in like 20 minutes or less. So it's possible that I might have been able to make my flight, but I won't know for sure because it actually got delayed, which ended up being a huge relief when I got to the airport and I saw the delay. So yeah, the rain actually came in clutch, even though it was also kind of ruining the day. So yeah, so my flight got delayed to 5:08 specifically, so I was able to, so everything ended up kind of working out pretty nicely there. So yeah, the first flight was to Long Beach for some reason. So I was like going past Vegas and then had a very short flight into Vegas from Long Beach. And I'm really going to shout out everyone who was on that flight from KC to Long Beach on that Thursday, because when we touched down in Long Beach, I noticed that I had to get off the flight and get on the flight to Vegas, and that flight to Vegas was leaving like immediately. Like, we touched down in Long Beach and I had to get off of this plane and get on the next one in like 10 minutes or less. Like, it was instantaneous. So I actually got up and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry if this comes off as rude. I don't mean that, but I literally have to leave immediately. My next flight is in 10 freaking minutes. So the people on that flight actually let me out before it was my turn, and I really appreciate that. And when I got off, fortunately, the terminal for the next plane was literally right next door. Like, I just get off and I look and, oh, the flight's right there. And I just go to the counter and the guy actually calls me by name. He's like, "Are you Michael Farina?" I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "We've been holding the plane for you." Because fortunately they knew that this plane was, the plane I just got off was pretty badly delayed. So yeah, they ended up holding the flight for me, and they just just saw I just gave them my boarding pass and then just got on. It was kind of funny because the Long Beach airport doesn't have the, you know, connecting things from the building to the plane. You actually go outside and then get on a ramp. So that was kind of interesting because, you know, California privileges, I guess. So yeah, I literally had to run outside, and then funny enough, I had to go back because I put my phone down on the counter and then forgot about it immediately. But fortunately, one of the workers actually was bringing it to me, or in the process of bringing it to me when I was running out to get it. So shout out to them, shout out to Southwest and everyone on that flight. They ended up making this a not stressful situation, even though it kind of was. So everything worked out pretty nicely. Also, the flight attendant for the plane to Vegas was really funny and just generally amusing. When we were getting off, she's like, "By the way, y'all from KC, y'all suck. The Chiefs are frauds. Go Eagles." So that was nice. And she was also like, you know, giving the general, you know, just whatever they say when you get off the plane. And then she ended it with, and also, welcome to Miami. It's nice being in, just a kind of I guess a regular normal setting, and then the worker there is cracking jokes. It was a nice disengaging moment. So that was pretty cool. It was also like a 40-minute flight, which again makes me wonder why I was even going to Long Beach in the first place. Felt like Taylor Swift in that moment, just taking pointlessly short flights for no reason. Sorry for the wasted CO2 emissions. I didn't mean it. Yeah, so then I was in Vegas, finally, at like, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock. I didn't actually immediately get an Uber to my hotel. I actually just decided to stick around in the airport for a little bit. Maybe that was just kind of anxiety in the moment. I think it was also because I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to be doing for food once I got to my hotel, so I decided to just find a place to eat in the airport, and I actually ate at Wendy's, of all places, because 10 years ago, I went out. I had to fly out I had a vacation with a friend it was in Panama Beach, actually. And I actually ended up, because I didn't know how airports worked at the time, I fucked it up. So I had to stay in Houston for a few extra hours. So I remember eating Wendy's at that point, and it was weirdly really good. So, and everyone's always like, "Oh, airport food, it's so bad." But I'm like, well, it's Wendy's, that's normal. How can that be bad? So, and I remember it being the best Wendy's ever. So yeah, so I just kind of thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, there's a Wendy's here. that's cool. I'll eat that. So yeah, I got that for dinner. Just at the airport, just to tide me over. And yeah, then I got an Uber to my hotel, although it was very confusing, the Uber situation at the airport. I don't know if this was just me not knowing how things work, which I'm willing to admit. I'm an idiot. I usually have to fuck up something in order to figure out how it actually works. But personally, I thought the whole situation of how to get an Uber and how to, get in it for the airport, at the airport, it was just really strange and confusing. It was hard to even find where I had to go for the thing. I was trying to get an Uber, and it's like, oh, you have to go to this particular spot of the airport, and I'm just like, okay, and it was hard to even figure out where that was. And then when I got there was a specific. Basically, I'm out in the parking lot of this place, but then there was a very specific place of it where the Uber pickups and drop-offs were, and so I had to find that, and it actually took. I called an Uber, and then I didn't know where it was going. I couldn't find it, and the guy couldn't find me, and he didn't really instruct me very well on where I had to go, essentially. And hilariously, when I did find him, he drove off. I'm literally steps away from this car, and then it starts driving off, and I'm like, yo! So yeah, so that was a bit of a wasted Uber, although it was no cost to me. So I guess sorry to that driver in particular for having to deal with my dumb ass. So yeah, I had to get a second one, wait for their. I don't know. It was just very kind of complicated and confusing. If someone else has dealt with the Vegas airport and thought it was nothing special, thought it was very easy, then yeah, I'll admit it might just be my fault. But yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. But then finally I was able to get it. And I got to my hotel for Thursday, which it was called Howard Johnson by the Strip. Actually, first of all, big reason why I got this hotel in particular is because it was only a mile or two away from the airport. And I was actually thinking that I could just simply walk it, because I actually walk 5 miles to work most days. I don't have a car, incidentally, so I'm thinking I don't mind walking that distance. I'm able to walk that. And I realized in the airport that there's no walking out of this airport. That's not a thing that you can do, unfortunately. So I just said, fuck it, I'll just get an Uber. And I was afraid of getting Ubers because they can, surge in prices sometimes, and I wasn't sure how it was going to be in Vegas. I'm thinking, hopefully everything will cost, under $30 for one trip, but even then, it's you're paying $30 for one trip. That can really add up if you have to take a few trips. Fortunately, though, prices were actually very reasonable. They were normal, essentially, or what I'm used to. It was $20 to get to my hotel, or less than that, frankly. So it ended up not being as expensive as I was worried it might be, but I did set aside, I was thinking I might need $200 for Ubers. That was part of my budget and all. But no, so I got an Uber to my hotel. It was a very basic bitch hotel, honestly, like no bells and whistles. It was really just a hotel you could get anywhere. Did have, I was able to look at some buildings. There was the glowing MGM building, which frankly looked evil as hell. And then there was also this pyramid that was glowing that just frankly looked like a supervillain headquarters. Like, that was definitely some kind of evil place. And I learned later on it was called the Luxor. It's actually a hotel that isn't all that expensive. Frankly, most of the hotels around Vegas are not that expensive. Even like the, luxury resorts as they're advertised, they're, actually like fairly reasonably priced. Although they would charge, resort fees on top of that and whatever. So maybe the prices aren't all as cracked up as they're. What's the saying? I got lost. Whatever. They're not that expensive. Or maybe they are more expensive than they seem. But whatever. I wasn't there, so it doesn't matter. So, the Howard Johnson, it was $100 deposit the day on check-in, which fortunately was refunded later on. But I did still incorporate that into my budget. I figured, however much I'm going to need a deposit for these, whether or not it's going to be returned, it's still money that I'm going to need on hand. So I did think about that in advance. Just keep that in mind if you're traveling out and doing that. And also I was, when I got into my room, the lights didn't turn on. I flipped the switch and nothing happens. So I go down and like the bathroom lights are working, and so I go down. And I'm like, yo, I got no lights in my living room. And then the guy at the desk told me I basically had to activate the lights in the room. I had to find like a button to turn them on or something. So it was a little bit complicated, but I figured it out, and things were cool after that. And yeah, it was just just a very basic bitch hotel. Nothing really special about it, but. I mean, it was already late that night anyway, and I was only staying there for that night. So it was just a bed to sleep in. It was just a bed. I had a shower. But honestly, for what it was, like, it was actually like really nice. I actually was very pleased with this place. It had a very powerful AC that kept the room like freezing cold if I wanted it to. Made a lot of fan noise, which personally I like. That helps me sleep at night. So yeah, it was actually a very nice place to stay the night. Just, again, if you're not looking for anything special, this was a nice place to be for that night. But it wasn't close to the festival or itself or anything. So if you were looking for a place specifically for the festival, this would not be it. So that is the big downside of it. But I didn't need it for the festival. Then there was that. I woke up around like 8 or 9 on Friday. There was a Denny's in the same parking lot, so I ended up walking to Denny's and getting that. Never had Denny's before, believe it or not, so that was a first for me. And it was just, it was Denny's. It was normal breakfast food, essentially. I got an omelet, and I think it was a Grand Slam or something. So I had some stuff with it, and I also got a small stack of pancakes to go with it, just to really make sure I was getting enough food for the rest of the day, basically. It ended up running me like $30. It was like $28 specifically after the tip. So, but whatever. It is what it is. And again, it was just fine. It was not that remarkable. It was Denny's, whatever. So then I just went back into my hotel and chilled for a little bit. Didn't really do anything in particular. I had to check out at noon, and my plan was that I had this dead zone essentially where between 12 and 3 I didn't have a place to stay because I couldn't check into Palace Station until 3 p.m. and I had to check out of Howard Johnson at noon. So I was thinking in my head I would go down to the festival grounds and get merch, because that was going on. Sick New World actually opened up their, specific festival merch booth on Friday for anybody who wanted to get merch early. And I did want to do that, and I was just going to, bring my stuff with me and all that. And it rained. It was raining on Friday afternoon. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't want to stand in the rain for a couple of hours with my stuff. So that's not happening. I ended up not doing that. I honestly just said fuck it and went to Palace Station and just to see if I could check in early. If I couldn't, you know what? There's a casino in there. There are restaurants in there. I'll figure something out. I'll sit in the lobby for 2 or 3 hours, whatever. They ended up letting me check in early. It did cost a little bit extra. I ended up paying $150 or so for, you know, the deposits and all that. But about half of it was actually returned to me. So I guess 75 was for whatever mandatory fees they had, plus checking in early. Because they did say that, we charged you for something for... They didn't say what they charged me for checking in early. They just said they charged me for checking in. There was some early check-in fee. But I was able to get my hotel early, so that was cool. I ended up sleeping a little bit in the afternoon. I woke up around, maybe it was 4 or 5 o'clock. It was probably around 4, so I could take a nice good shower there. And then, I think it was around 5 when I ended up leaving. So Palace Station, it's like less than 2 miles from the festival grounds, and the Bring Me the Horizon Sideshow was at the Fontainebleau, which was across the street. So this was actually really nice. It was an opportunity to really like see what the area was like and how I would be able to navigate it. So I ended up walking to the venue. Before that, I stopped at Chick-fil-A. There was a Chick-fil-A just on the route, so I figured, get some food there. That was nice. It was like $20 because I got a chicken sandwich and some nuggets. It was, Chick-fil-A pricing. It was pretty normal, actually. And I just ended up walking to the Fontainebleau, and it was, I want to say it was, like, relatively simple, but frankly, some of the, like, I was essentially walking under a highway, and some of those junctions were not very well protected. Like, I did have to cross some streets that had no lights or anything. It was literally just wait for an opportunity to cross, and whatever happens. I don't want to say like, oh, it was super scary or whatever, but I walk a lot more than other people, so maybe some people wouldn't be so comfortable with this. So I did want to mention that it wasn't exactly the safest or most comfortable route or anything like that. I did also go under some bridges that had some homeless people. I'm not bothered by that personally, but again, every time like people travel or go some other places, they're like, oh, the homeless people, the homeless population, or whatever. Doesn't bother me, but I just figured I'd mention it. And then I got to the Fontainebleau at like, I want to believe 6 or even earlier than that. And it was weird because it's this hotel and casino, and it's this giant blue building. It did not look like a place that would have a metal show going on. And like, I go in, there's not even a lobby. I'm just in the casino, and I'm just like, where? I'm in a Discord server. I literally just jumped into some kind of Discord server that had people going to Sick New World, and some people also going to the Bring Me the Horizon show. I was actually supposed to meet up with someone at the show because they didn't want to go alone, and sorry to that person for not actually getting there like super early. They got there before me, but I think they met up with someone else, so it was fine. I'm at the Fontainebleau, and I'm like looking in the chat. I'm like, where do I go? Like, I have no idea what's going on. It doesn't look like there's even a show happening here. I just literally just walk around the casino, and I eventually see some signs hanging from the ceiling that point to a theater. So I'm like, I assume it's going to be in the theater. And sure enough, I get upstairs and I see people like sitting around outside of these doors. So I'm like, okay, this must be right. And then, and then it's just a matter of looking for where to get in line, because the line's like segmented and it's going through hallways. It goes out through this pavilion area, and it's kind of weird. But whatever. I get in line. I wait in there for a little while, and then I was getting a little bit afraid because I thought I was getting there really early, but the line was so freaking long. I'm like, damn. I got GA, but I'm probably fucked in terms of getting a good spot, actually. But actually, once I got down there, it was fine. The line was, I guess the venue was just so big that it ended up not mattering too much. I was actually standing pretty close to the stage early on, so that was cool. Spiritbox came on. Their set was fun, as I expected it to be. Everyone was great. Courtney was wearing this really adorable, like, it was almost like a gothic Victorian maid outfit. Like, it wasn't really, but it was like almost like a halfway point between that and some kind of dress, and it was really cool. They played a very interesting set that I didn't expect. I will express my disappointment at the fact that they didn't play Rotoscope, because that's my favorite Spiritbox song. So that was a bit of a bummer for me. They tapped into the singles collection, which I'm not as big of a fan of as a lot of other people, but I guess it was nice to see that. They played Blessed Be. It was actually Rule of Nines, fucking fake fan. And Hurt You from that. And they also played Yellow Jacket from Eternal Blue, which was a very interesting cut. I forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry. Courtney's husband. The other guy, Mike. Yeah. He ended up actually singing Sam's parts of the song. I didn't know he could do that, so that was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool. Yeah, just a great set overall. The only other thing, though, is that they really suffered from opener syndrome, which is that, you know, some people in the crowd got into it, but it wasn't like a full, you know, super fun crowd that everybody's like really into it. People who were there were, you know, there to see Bring Me the Horizon, and they were conserving their energy for that, which is understandable, and it's just makes me wish Spiritbox would do some freaking headliner shows, you know, for a change. So I was able to get into it a little bit. I was able to mosh for Holy Roller specifically. In fact, it was actually super satisfying because, like, when we got to the breakdown, the pit just kind of like opened up, and I just kind of like jump into the middle of it, and I'm just like spinning around, screaming it out with Courtney. I want to done. You will pray for me. Like, and it was just really awesome. Honestly, just a really fun release of energy. Just doing that, doing some hardcore dancing and all that. Yeah, very fun. Immediately knocked the wind out of my sails, though. Like, I spent all of my energy in that, like, 30-second period. So, you know, typical guy thing, right? Not lasting very long. Haha. So I actually left the room for a little bit to go to the bar just to refresh myself. It probably wasn't the best idea to get Chick-fil-A, like, right before the show, because all the frickin' sodium and stuff actually, you know, ended up drying me out a little bit quicker. They, you know, of course, the venue was handing out small bottles of water, but, you know, I didn't want to, like, ask for, you know, 5 bottles of water or anything like that, and other people needed that. I didn't want to be that guy, so I just went to the bar. I ended up getting 2 waters from the bar, plus an orange juice that they were serving. Overall, it cost me like $25 because every drink was like $7 or $8. The orange juice was actually kind of disgusting. I didn't like it, but I chugged it anyway because, you know what, that's sugar, that's energy that I'm going to have. And all of that put together really recharged me. Gave me a full second wind. I was completely ready for Bring Me the Horizon after being completely winded after Spiritbox. So, yeah, got back in, still had a decent spot for Bring Me the Horizon, and when that show started, man, like, I mean, the whole show, I'm smiling thinking about it. Dude, this was the best show I've ever been to in my life. This was, I'm so glad I did all this. Like, it immediately made the entire weekend worth it. I was honestly thinking, I'm like, I don't even need Sick New World at this point. I just got this show that was everything I hoped it would be. Everything I hoped and expected it would be. It was just so freaking fun, dude. I love that we're still kind of in this weird next gen rollout with the band. There was lots of, like, I guess some kind of lore with the album and all that. Like, they most of the set list was like post-human songs, and before every one of them there would be like some kind of character that they had called Eve. She'd come on like the screens on the beside the stage.
Thank you for volunteering in the Next Gen research program. Your commitment and ultimate sacrifice to our all-important mission will not be forgotten. I'm Eve, a state-of-the-art advanced research engine, entrusted with the greatest mission in human history, the salvation of mankind. Tonight, I will be observing your biopsychosocial activity and collecting data to further our research on Next Gen, the next stage of human evolution.
They did like this Metal Gear thing where she'd like get a call and it'd, be the Metal Gear thing essentially.
With it, I'm in the middle of something.
Listen to me! Project Angel Dust has gone rogue! She destroyed Cerberus, but now we can't find her!
Are you fucking kidding me? Track her down and contain her before it's too late!
And I don't know, there was like lots of weird stuff going on with it, but it was super fun, honestly. Just, I love this band and how fun their music has become with Posthuman, and especially Next Gen. Like it's just really fun in general. Like there's lots of layers and details to it, but at the end of the day, it's almost like a joke to everybody, and it's again everyone's just having fun. Like the set starts and Eve's like,
Contraband detected. Bring Me the Horizon have a zero-tolerance policy on drugs. Those in possession of any illicit substances are advised to consume them now.
so it's like it'd be playing itself very straight-faced and serious, but you can see the jokes in there, and it was great. Yeah, at first the first part of the set, they were like playing in front of like this cathedral sort of thing. They had their screen set up in a really cool way, so it just looked like this dynamic cathedral setting, and it was really, really cool. And then when they got to Kool-Aid, this like weird sort of creature just like creeped up behind it and just smashed the whole thing, and it was awesome. They had stuff just shooting out of the stage for like every single song. Like every single song had steam or confetti or fire coming out of it. It was just awesome. Lots of crowd interactions. The crowd itself was really fun. Just tons of activity out there. I moshed quite a bit. When Shadow Moses came on, dude, I got a little bit of footage from Shadow Moses, and then I had to make a very panicked stop and put my phone back in my pocket because I really thought it was going to get dropped.
Can you tell from the look in our eyes? We're going nowhere. We live our lives and we're ready to die. We're going nowhere.
It got really intense for that song in particular, but so much fun. I'm just like mutually screaming in people's faces like, we're going nowhere, or this is Spiritbox! Just screaming at the top of my lungs the entire song, most of the set, frankly. I love the set that they were playing. Again, most of it was Posthuman stuff, which is like the stuff that's really made me a fan of this band. But then there was also lots of Sempiternal songs. They didn't play a whole lot before Sempiternal, but it's fine. I loved this set in general. Yeah, what else can I say about it? Ollie, during Can You Feel My Heart, like in the middle of that, during the break, I guess, he says, like, if you take no responsibility, you'll have great power. And then he puts on this fucking Spider-Man mask. He put on a Spider-Man mask and just started singing with that. And it's like, okay, there was some guy who was dressed up in all this makeup and had this super stylish outfit and had a sign that said, let me sing Antivist. And Ollie actually ended up doing that. Ollie brought this dude on stage so we could just scream Antivist with him, and that was fun. Saw him at the merch line afterwards, and people were talking to him, and he was pretty cool. Or they were pretty cool active. No idea what their gender was, so whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Yeah, don't know what else to say other than that. It was the freaking greatest show I was ever a part of. It was so much freaking fun, dude. I mean, maybe it was the best show ever because it was also just the context of everything. Like I said, this was the first time I've ever been traveling by myself. This was the most expensive show I had ever attended. Like it was very high effort getting in here, but it was so worth it that it was cathartic, frankly. So it was so much freaking fun, dude. Ended up getting merch afterwards, which is hanging up on my wall over there. I'll take it down and show you. because I know you probably can't see it too well from there. I was worried because one of my, Discord friends who was there was saying that they couldn't get what they wanted from the merch line, and I'm like, fuck. I know Bring Me the Horizon also had a pop-up place somewhere in Vegas on Friday. I didn't go to that, incidentally. So they didn't. Unfortunately, the Spiritbox shirt that I specifically wanted was not around, so I settled for this one. The front of it is kind of boring looking, but then the back of it is pretty freaking awesome. So ended up getting that. So that's cool. The Bring Me the Horizon shirt that I did get, though, was the one that I wanted. They had it. Also, for context, I'm a size XL. I'm not a big guy, but I wear double XL because it's just comfy. I like big, roomy shirts. Yeah, here's the back of it. So I now have a piece of merch that dates my trip and my experience. Yay! So, yeah, very, very happy with that. Very happy I got these. Legitimately, 2 of my favorite band shirts ever. I mean, that's like all I wear when I'm out. I just wear band shirts. I try to collect as many of them as I can. I try to get them for every show I go to, and yeah, those are up there with my favorites. So yeah, that was the Bring Me the Horizon show. Afterwards, I met up with a couple of people from that Discord. We got an Uber to a bar. There was another group in that Discord that was, the big plan was we were all going to meet up. We actually wanted to meet up like earlier that morning, but I wasn't entirely sure what the plans were. Some were saying like, oh, let's go out to breakfast and all that. And I'm like, and I was open to whatever, but nothing really concrete formed in that morning. So that's why I just went to Denny's by myself. But then, this night it's like, all right, we definitely got to meet up at some point, before the festival. So yeah, so there were 3 of us from the show, and then there was another like 3 or 4 that were kind of hanging out somewhere, I guess. There was one guy who was driving around, so that was cool. And it was actually kind of frustrating because we weren't entirely sure where we were all going. Like, they would be saying like, oh, we're going to this bar, but then like 5 minutes later, like, okay, we're going to this bar, and it's like, so us from the show, we're like, okay, we're going to this bar, and you guys come over here. We don't want to keep changing this, and eventually we figured it out, and it was fine. I felt bad for one of the guys there because he got really hungry and was just like, he just wanted to go to a place that served food, but I don't think any bar was serving food, unfortunately. Like, we tried going in and they're like, oh, sorry, our kitchen closed at 11:30, and it was like midnight by this point, so I felt bad for that guy. But yeah, we ended up just hanging out at a oh, I forgot what the place was freaking called. I'll have it on the screen. So that was the bar we went to for a bit. Yeah, just hung out. It was just nice. It was fun, and that was it. So it was a great night. For those guys that were there, and I just want to say I'm sorry for being quiet. That's just how I am. I wasn't uncomfortable or anything. I was actually very happy to be around some people, although I was very tired. Just, because I'm naturally tired. I don't get a lot of sleep in my everyday life anyway. And then there was this show that exhausted me. So, yeah. But yeah, just like the greatest night ever, dude. It was just so freaking good. I'm so happy about all that. All right, and now, yeah, so then I just went to my hotel for the night. Slept from, I actually didn't get back to the hotel until like 3 or so I ended up not sleeping until like 4 o'clock, and then I ended up waking up around like 9 that next morning, and that was the, day of the festival, so I was hoping to get a little bit more sleep, and I ended up totally not, but you know what, that's just how things go sometimes, so fuck it, we ball. Yeah, woke up at like 9 or so, took a shower, got down to the floor of the lobby so I could actually eat. They had a Panda Express in there, so isn't it great how I went to Vegas and I just went and ate at the same normal places that everybody can eat? So yeah, I got that for breakfast, I guess, and then I thought about walking to the festival, but I'm like, I want to get there like sooner, because I already knew that it was getting kind of late and people were really lining up, and I was already hearing that the line was insane getting into the festival. So I'm like, I want to get to the festival sooner. So I called an Uber, and I got an Uber pretty quickly. It got like, it said it was like 2 minutes away, and then, oh, we're finding you another rider. Your driver canceled. Okay. Keep getting Ubers. Like, okay, here's this guy. 2 seconds later, finding you another rider. Like, this happened like 5 different times where I'm like, I'm searching. I finally get a rider, and then they immediately cancel. And it's like, what is going on? Why can't I get a freaking Uber here? So finally I get one, and then I realize as this poor lady is trying to get to me, I realize why nobody wants to pick me up. This lady is on Las Vegas Boulevard for like 15 minutes. Like, she's just stuck there, and that is like my you know, like the Uber app is saying like, oh, she's 6 minutes away. It was like that forever. She was 6 minutes away for fucking 20 minutes. I swear to God. So she eventually picked me up, and you know, and we were like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a situation right here. This is kind of difficult to get through, and I felt sorry. I was amazed that Uber even let me get a trip for like $15 for like a normal price. Like, it didn't charge me a super high amount for this one particular trip. And at this point, I did realize I could have just fucking walked, and I probably would have actually saved time getting there. She got me to the festival grounds, or rather around the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and whatever the other street was there at the intersection, the one where Walgreens was. And like, there's already traffic backing up and it's not moving. I just get out of the car. I'm just like, I'll take it from here. It's fine. Thanks for getting me this far. And then, yeah, I end up walking like probably half a mile, because actually the entrance to the festival wasn't really like, you know, right there. You actually kind of wrapped around a little bit. So, yeah. And then getting into the festival was confusing because the line was freaking massive. Like, I just immediately get in this one line, and because I'm just like, you know, it's a line, I'll just get in here. But then I hear that it wasn't actually the GA line; it was the VIP line. Like that, because someone who was, you know, with some people, they got out of line and just went ahead and checked, you know, to make sure we were going. And they're like, "Yeah, this is the VIP line," and I'm like, "Oh, then where the fuck's the GA line? Like, where am I going?" So eventually I figure that out. It's just this sea of people out there, and we're standing in line. I was in line for no less than 90 minutes. Like, it was an incredible amount of time. That most of it was just standing. Like, it wasn't moving at all for most of it. Yeah, and it was around, like, I have to pull up the schedule of the festival so I can get my times a little more accurately. Because I know the first band that I wanted to see of the day was Spiritbox, of course. Totally missed them. Yeah, they went on at 12:20. So I remember this specifically. I got to the festival at around 11, maybe 11:30. And, you know, I thought, you know, even if I wait in line for an hour, I'll still be okay. Nope. Spiritbox is set. Like, it comes and goes while I'm in line. So that's how long it was. And I remember it was around 1 o'clock. They just started letting people in. Like, it just suddenly surged ahead because they just stopped checking IDs at that point. They realized that this was a fucking disaster happening with how long it was taking to get into line. So they stopped checking IDs. They stopped doing such thorough checks and just let people in. So finally I get in at maybe like 1:15 or so after such a freaking long wait. I'm trying to organize some stuff with my, Discord people, but already the signal's just fucked, so I can't really communicate with anybody. I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to be at, the red and gold stages because all the stuff that I wanted to see was up over there. So I did end up standing around for Lorna Shore for a little bit, got my way through the crowd a little bit there for the last, 10-15 minutes of their set. So I was able to see that at least, and thank God that I had the Sideshow with Spiritbox the night before, so because again, I really, really wanted to see these guys, but ended up not doing that at Sick New World. But it ended up not being an issue because I saw them the night before anyway, so thank God. Yeah, so I saw Lorna Shore for a little bit, and that's fine. I'd already seen them before, so I wasn't like, that wasn't like a necessity for me. They're just a band that I'm just like, I'm into them a little bit, but I'm not like, a diehard fan, so that wasn't like a necessity for me. The next one I saw, I just stuck around for the gold and red stages for a bit. They were the two headliner stages, and they're just right next to each other, and they just had one stage playing while the other one's set up, so that you can essentially get, constant music going on. So that worked out nice. Ice Nine Kills was next. Stood around for them. Their sound wasn't amazing. Maybe it's just the fact that I was distant, but honestly, Lorna Shore sounded much more clear from where I was. I don't know. I just kind of expected a little bit better from them, but it's probably not their fault. I could tell Ice Nine Kills is a band that does lots of crazy stage stuff, and they were pretty limited with what they had for the festival and all that, especially since it was so early in the day. They probably had the sun beaming down right at them. It was still fun. It was still a fun set. I'm also not that familiar with the band anyway, so it wasn't like a train wreck set or anything. But it was just like you could kind of tell it wasn't their best. But they're professionals. They did what they could. They were fun still. So I liked seeing that. And then next up on the red stage was Babymetal. Dude, I'm going to admit, I haven't actually been into Baby's Metal. Baby's Metal. Yeah, I haven't actually been into Baby's Metal. I haven't been into their, actual music for a while. It's been, 3 or 4 albums since I've really cared about what they've put out. But man, their stage presence is still completely unfuckwithable. I mean, they're so freaking good. There's just no one like them still. They're still the only band that has these 3 girls singing and dancing while a freaking metal band is playing. They just have so much energy. They're so fun. Oh, it was just a great set, honestly. They played Gimme Chocolate, and I started losing my shit. It was great. The crowd itself was pretty hyped for Papaya. Wish I could have been closer to it. I couldn't get... I was really far away, and people weren't letting others through at all, so I just had to stand in the back, and it was hard to even film stuff, honestly, with how many people were in front of me, so... I don't know, I just did my best, but I was so happy to see them just in general. It was a lot of fun. And that was all the stuff that I wanted to see for a good long while, actually. So, most of the afternoon didn't really have stuff that I was all that enthusiastic about seeing. So I actually left the stage areas, left the crowd areas, and just kind of went around for a little bit. I went I went back into this tent sort of thing that was back by the gold and red stages, and I call it a tent because I think that's what it was supposed to be, or some kind of canopy. It had turf, and it was a place where people could just sit down and relax a little bit. It wasn't very protective from the sun, though. It did not really provide any shade from the sun. I wanted to lay down for a little bit, and I could just feel the sun just roasting my face super hard. I didn't like that at all. So yeah, it wasn't really actually all that relaxing of a place to sit down at. That'd be my one complaint with the show, is that there weren't a lot of shaded areas from what I could tell. So, even though this one was supposed to be something like that. Went out to look for some food for a little bit. The first thing I got was this bacon wrapped hot dog that they had, because I thought I would just get something simple and easy to eat. I did that. It cost like $15, and I don't know what I expected, but this thing sucked ass. It was just a cheap, generic hot dog wrapped in bacon on a shitty bun, and that was it. And again, it was like $15. I ate that thing in just a few bites. Didn't really fill me up. Didn't even really make me feel good after. I'm just like, what the fuck? Why did again, I don't know what I expected, but it was a big disappointment. So that was not great. Total waste of money right there. A little later on, I found a cheesesteak that some stand was selling, and it ended up being pretty good, actually. It was like $17, $18. It actually ended up being like $20 because I added onions to it, and that really hit the spot, honestly. Definitely messy. They gave me a paper towel. That paper towel worked overtime. Dude, I got everything I could out of that freaking towel. But yeah, it was actually a lot better and actually filled me up a lot easier. There were lots of different food options, but they were pricey. So, everything was like $15 and up, aside from like, smaller things like a slice of pizza or something like that, or smaller food items. But yeah, it was definitely pricey just getting food, getting drinks. They did have hydration stations, so you could bring a water bottle and fill it up in a free water station, but I didn't bring my own water bottle with me because I'm a fucking idiot. I really should have done that. So I just ended up getting Gatorade a couple of times and just filled that up whenever I could. And Gatorade, of course, was like $6 or $7. And everywhere I went, the only Gatorade they had was lemon lime for some reason. I saw some people with fruit punch or glacier freeze bottles, which I really wanted more than fucking lemon lime, but I couldn't find any. Every stall I went to just had lemon lime for whatever reason. So that was a little annoying. So yeah, I was just kind of out and about for a little bit. I just kind of caught some glimpses of some random things. I was sitting around for Lamb of God in that one clip that I showed when I was under the tent, and then Primus was on for a little bit, and I heard Primus say, like, I didn't really listen to Primus. I wouldn't really pay attention to their set, so I didn't really hear them all that well. I remember them saying that they just like randomly bought instruments apparently, and then they were just going to like sell them off after the show, and I had no idea, like I know Primus can be kind of silly, so I thought that they were doing some kind of bit, and it turns out that was like actually true, that they had literally just purchased their instruments like at the show, or like when they were in Vegas or something, because I guess there was like huge trouble actually getting their stuff there. Or maybe I'm probably thinking of A Perfect Circle, because I heard later on that A Perfect Circle literally could not get their equipment and stuff to the show, so they ended up using Primus's, because they were the next band, or the next band on the red stage at least. So yeah, weird stuff happened apparently with Primus and A Perfect Circle. I just kind of heard a little bit of that, and it was like, okay. Yeah. What else? At some point, a couple times throughout the day, I went to the bathrooms, and the lines for the bathroom was always really confusing. It was like really hard to figure out where you actually had to get in line, where the lines began and ended. Because, like the lines would be long. I mean, they wouldn't be like long time-wise. They just have a lot of people in there. And while you're in line, people are still like coming and going throughout the festival. Like people are just still milling about, and that's the big reason why things were so complicated. Same thing with the hydration stations. Like the lines would be long. They'd move decently, but they'd be long, and then people would be walking through them essentially. So it was just very confusing with the line specifically. So I would hope I hope that maybe some point, like in a future installment of this festival, they like segment some parts of the festival ground, so it's like if you're there for a specific thing, then it's like that's what you're there for, and you can't like walk through it or anything like that. They definitely needed something like that for some of these lines. But yeah, I got through the bathrooms. And I wanted to shout them out because I actually thought this was kind of important. They had like sanitation crews working on the grounds constantly. I saw people always. I just saw so many sanitation workers just throughout the grounds. They would like stand in the bathrooms essentially and just wait just to see if any, just to regularly change toilet paper, make sure the toilets were flushing properly and all that stuff, making sure the bathrooms were clean and all that. So honestly, big shout out to the sanitation crews that worked at Sick New World. Thank you for, standing around and watching and listening to people piss and shit all day as your job. Like seriously, you make the world a better place. Thank you for your service. The sinks in the bathrooms were like ice cold, which actually felt awesome. I should actually mention that the weather for Sick New World was actually really good. Definitely the biggest worry I had was the weather, because I heard last year it was super hot and it was intense. But it was like 70s throughout the entire day for this year's. And it was bright and sunny, and obviously I got fucking burnt to a crisp by it, but it actually wasn't like hot outside, so that was really nice. So, yeah, I did end up finding like some shaded. I ended up finding some shade by like some food trucks or something. Just found a random place to sit while I was eating that cheesesteak that I got earlier. That was kind of nice. Because I had so much free time, I thought it would be a good idea to try getting some merch. So I went down to the merch booths, and I wanted to get festival merch. That was like the main thing I wanted to get. Stood in line for that for a while, and then finally when I get there, they don't have the sizes of the shirts that I want. They don't have the size of like any shirt that I want, or like any shirt in particular. Like all they have is like smalls and mediums left. Like they told me there was one shirt that had an XL, and I'm just like, I'm good, thanks, sorry. There was a specific booth for System of a Down. Like they had specific merch for Sick New World. I stood in line for that for a little bit, but then once I saw the merch, I'm just like, it didn't really excite me. Plus, I already have a System of a Down shirt, so it wasn't like a big deal to me. And then there was the line for the artist merch, which was fucking apocalyptic. I mean, the line for the artist merch, I couldn't even fathom how long it was. I dead ass just didn't even try. I didn't get in line. I'm like, I'm not even attempting this, especially because I already, went through this festival merch, and I'm like, if the festival merch is out, I don't want to risk standing for who knows how long in the artist merch line, and then finding out that, whatever I do want is out of the same sizes and all that. I didn't know what options they had or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not standing around that long for a freaking Knocked Loose shirt or something. I'm just gonna live without it. You know what? I got the Spiritbox and Bring Me the Horizon shirts the day before, so I'm cool with that. I will just settle for that. So yeah, so overall, I ended up getting no merch from the festival itself, which was a bit of a bummer. But at least I had that Sideshow. But yeah, like they definitely needed to have a second artist booth or something, because whatever the system they had for the artist merch was just not working. It was, and that was like the number one complaint that I heard from people. Just the lines for merch were absolutely insufferable. And for the record, I do know that they had a second booth for the festival merch. I tried that one after the first one, didn't have the sizes that I wanted. Still didn't work. It was actually like a fast line too. Like I actually didn't really wait that long for this second booth. It was the one that was closer to the entrance, but didn't end up getting anything. Whatever. I was still standing around for a little bit. Heard a little bit of Dayseeker, which sounded really nice actually. I should get into Dayseeker stuff. They seem like a band that I would really like. When I was in line for the hydration station at one point, I saw this one dude on the video for the Spiral stage that looked like he had one eye, and I'm like, what in the fuck is going on? He's just making some stupid animal noises, and I'm like, who is this goofy motherfucker? And then I realized very quickly, I'm like, the only guy who would be this corny would be Alex Terrible, and sure enough, it was Slaughter to Prevail playing at that time. I can't take those motherfuckers seriously. They're so extreme that it ends up being corny to me. I'm just like, what the fuck is this, dude? This is ridiculous. But I heard their set was fun, so that's pretty cool. Although there was a bit of a downside with me kind of fucking around for so long, is that I actually did want to see some bands at the Diablo stage. I actually wanted to see if I could see Loathe and maybe even Kubla Khan a little bit, and hopefully a little bit of Vane FM. Didn't end up doing that. It ended up already being like late enough where I'm just like, I'm not gonna go over there. But I heard the Diablo stage was absolutely fucking lit though. So pretty cool for whoever was there. So instead, I went to the Siren stage and sat over there for a little bit because I wanted to see Knocked Loose. So I ended up getting there around like, I don't know, 5:30, 5:40, and I ended up sitting for this act called Front 242, which was this dancey, industrial, electronic sort of group that had some really fun music. Like, their set was really, really fun, and I liked it a lot. I was just kind of sitting around, laying down on the turf. I wanted to like rest a little bit. Unfortunately, the sun was still like beaming down on me, so I couldn't like rest specifically, but it was still nice just laying down on the turf for a little bit and just getting serenaded, frankly. Like, I thought their set was really nice. So that was a pretty cool little thing that I got to listen to. And then afterwards, I got into the crowd for, I stood in the crowd for Nitzer Ebb, which was similar. They were also like a dancey, electronic, industrial sort of act. Their set was like a constant DJ set, though. Like, I don't think there were any breaks in between songs or whatever they did play, which was kind of cool in its own right, although by the end of it, I was kind of tired of it because it started to seem like there was just some kind of industrial electronic beat playing while some guy was just shouting phrases, essentially. It just kind of blurred together, and I kind of didn't enjoy it so much at the end, but it was fine. And then the next band, actually I should mention, I don't know if this was a thing that happened last year, because I heard last year with how many bands played at this festival, it was just this total clusterfuck. So I think this was a new thing, but it seems like the smaller stages, as in the non-red and gold stages, it seems like they rotated. The stages would actually rotate so that one band or one act would play, and then there'd just be a wall, and behind it would be the next act playing, and they'd have their stuff set up. So even though there was only a few minutes between each set, everyone seemed to be able to get through their stuff pretty easily. And so, unlike last year's Sick New World, I heard that this one actually, went decently. I didn't hear about so many, like, really terrible, sound issues or whatever. I mean, I'm sure, like, obviously there were some issues because it's a fucking festival and no festival has, like, perfect sound for every act, but it seems like it was a lot better for artists this time around, so that was nice to see. So around 6:30 for the Siren Sage, Have a Nice Life played. I had never heard of these guys before, and then I looked them up later on, and they actually have like a top 100 all-time album on Rate Your Music, which kind of surprised me. So that was actually interesting, and their set was fine. I want to say their set was fine, and I definitely don't want to like criticize the band for anything, but it was definitely a weird fit for them, and maybe not even specifically for this festival or even this stage, because later on they had Duster and Polyphia playing, and Swans ended up closing out on this stage. But I would like to remind you that I was here for Knocked Loose, and like just getting this shoegazy act right before Knocked Loose and then these dancey industrial acts before that was definitely weird. It's probably actually more Knocked Loose was out of place on this stage, but definitely the sequence of acts for this stage was a kind of out of whack. And again, Have a Nice Life were fine, but like I kind of felt bad for them because they did not have much of a crowd honestly. Like, a lot of people were just kind of standing there, and even the band themselves, like, they ended their set like, alright, thanks, bye. So it's like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry you didn't have much of an audience today, but, you know, I was respectable about it. I mean, again, their set was fine, and I don't want to, like, say, oh, it's their fault or whatever. Just an odd fit. Before I go on, actually, I wanted to mention that I was, wearing... Where is it? Where the heck is it? Where the fuck did it go? It's down here. I wanted to mention that this was the shirt that I was wearing at the festival. So if anyone saw this very pretty Deftones shirt, that was me. I got quite a few compliments on this shirt, actually. Like, I mean, it's Deftones. It's not like it's not like this was some obscure band that I was promoting at the festival. But yeah, for whatever reason, a lot of people were like, "Hey, dude, nice shirt," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks." Also, I was wearing this to the Bring Me the Horizon show, my Johnny Booth shirt. I was actually debating wearing the Johnny Booth to the festival, especially because I hope they play next year or something. If you're into metalcore and you don't know who Johnny Booth is, you are missing out. You're missing out on peak metal right there. They could have played the Diablo stage and held their own, honestly. But speaking of Diablo, or bands who should have probably been at the Diablo stage, right after waiting for a little while, I got to see Knocked Loose, motherfucker. Oh my god, I mean, just the most insane pit I've ever been in. I mean, maybe it's not saying much coming from me, but Jesus Christ, this was a bloodbath through and through. It was so fun. I mean, this was just one of those places where if you were in the crowd at all, you were not safe. You were getting pushed and shoved around. I was actually genuinely a little bit worried for myself because my hair was getting pulled so freaking much. Like, after the set, I'm like literally just like kind of combing through it, and it's just like, I'm just like shedding so much of it. It's like, oh my god. I was like really afraid that like I was dealing some like real damage to my hair, but I mean, that's the price you pay in a pit like that. It was so intense and so freaking fun. By the way, I don't know how this works for some other stages, but for the Siren stage in particular, the pit was sectioned off. There were like two different halves of it. I think the left half was the VIP half or something. Not entirely sure how it worked, but I was on the right side. And also, apparently on the right side as well was Will Ramos. Yeah, apparently Will Ramos was in the same pit. I had no idea. I never saw him. I didn't know about this until I saw videos of it well after. I also heard, like, there were also a lot of people complaining about the Knocked Loose crowd or whatever. Apparently a couple of dudes got into an actual fight. I don't know anything about that. I personally did not have a bad experience in the Knocked Loose pit. It was incredibly fun. I mean, I moshed so freaking... I'm not even, like, that much of a mosher, but I moshed so much for this one. The wall of death at the end of Everything is Quiet Now, that's me eating shit right there. Thanks to this guy for having a video of that. That was I'm glad that I could have some kind of proof that I was there. Just, yeah, I try to be that guy who, jumped out early so I could kind of, scream out, "Everything is quiet now!" And yeah, just totally got wrecked right there. But I got up fairly quickly, so I didn't get hurt or anything, so that was good. Yeah, just what an insane show. And of course, the highlight of this, the absolutely legendary moment that occurred, was they brought out Poppy. to scream suffocate with them. Oh my goodness. Now, I'll admit, I have a full recording of this on the channel. All the stuff that, like all the full songs that I recorded are on this channel. I'll admit, I started recording Suffocate because I did actually suspect that that was going to happen, because I actually did check in with my Discord friends while I was, waiting for Knocked Loose, and I actually heard from one of them that Poppy was at the Bad Omens set. So I'm like, okay, well then she's definitely going to be at the Knocked Loose set for Suffocate as well. So I got a bit of a tip off there. So that's why I was recording for that, and that was like the only thing I ended up recording, because the whole show was just so ridiculous that there was no way I'd be able to safely do anything else.
Macy. Oh, it's my Macy cat. My beautiful, dark, twisted Macy cat. Hey, Macy.
So, yeah, just what a fun set that was. What a fun crowd that was. I'm so glad I got to see them, because Knocked Loose is coming here, but they're in Lawrence, and that's a bit... There's a difference between Casey and Lawrence, and it's not a journey I think I'm able to make. I mean, it's not like super far, but again, I don't have a car, so it's pretty difficult. Plus, that show sold out, so it doesn't matter anyway. So I will settle for this. This is a nice consolation prize, I guess. So after Knocked Loose, it was back to the headlining stages. That's what I wanted to go see. Once again, lined up for some bathrooms and some hydration stations. I actually deadass saw Will Ramos pass by me when I was in line for the bathroom. This time, for real, I knew he was there. It was funny, like, he was walking by, and I kind of thought it was him. He had his hair tied up, so I couldn't entirely recognize him, but then, like, once he went by, it's like, I noticed the neck tattoos, and I'm like... me and the guy I'm just, like, standing next to, we just turned and looked at each other, we're like... Was that Will Ramos? We didn't say anything, of course. I don't think anybody wanted to bother him if anybody did recognize him, and I wasn't going to do that anyway. But it was still like a cool thing that happened. It's like, oh, hey, that's a guy that I know. He was also with a girl, so don't bother a dude when he's with a girl. Then, yeah, I got a little bit more food, just to really make sure I was, held over for the night, because, I mean, I've been expending a lot of freaking energy, so, yeah, just gotta fuel up again. I got another Gatorade, and I got a chicken on a stick. Just a big-ass piece of chicken that was on a skewer, and honestly, it kind of hit. I liked it, personally. I heard some people complaining about the chicken. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was pretty good, and it was a nice thing to just eat on the go. So, yeah, it was, like, honestly the ideal festival food, frankly. So I did that while making my way through for Bring Me the Horizon. That was the next thing I wanted to see. Which, by the way, I heard a lot of people complaining about the Danny Elfman set. That seemed to get some very, very mixed reactions. I wouldn't know anything about it because I wasn't there, so whatever. But just, I guess I thought I'd mention that. Yeah, so I was just getting through Bring Me the Horizon, and one thing I'll note is that when I was getting through the crowd, I was just, attaching myself to whatever group of people was also trying to get through. There was, like, some guy in the crowd who was like, hey, guys, stop pushing. There's a baby in here, all right? And we're just like, go take your baby somewhere safe. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm not gonna knock anybody for bringing their kids or even babies to a festival or anything. I think I wouldn't do it personally, but I'm not a parent, so I'm not gonna judge parents on what they do with their kids. That's your business if you understand the risks and all that. I'm not gonna be judgmental, but like, holy fuck, man. Like there were places where you could sit down. I mean, you're in a pit. You're in a crowd. And I get that we were far away from the stage, but it's still... That doesn't mean mosh pits can't open up there. That doesn't mean people can't crowd surf back there. Like, what the fuck, dude? That guy was a... That was just irresponsible. I just had to comment on that because that was ridiculous. But yeah, Bring Me the Horizon started. they played a shortened version of the set that I saw at the Fontainebleau. So, you know, it wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but it was still fun, obviously. I still got really into it. I mean, I was still pretty far back, so I guess I couldn't get that into it, but, you know, yeah, it was a pretty fun set. And of course, the one thing that I was really hoping would happen in this festival, like, honestly, one of the biggest reasons why I went to this festival was because I was hoping this would happen, and it happened. They brought in Babymetal to do Kingslayer. Oh my fucking god. I know they've done that once before when they were in Japan, but even still, getting to see it for myself, getting to hear Babymetal sing Kingslayer live with Bring Me the Horizon. Oh my good. Oh my good. Yeah, that's it. Oh my good. I was so happy I got to see that. And there's just something so funny about seeing the Babymetal girls just like dancing with fucking Ollie Sykes, just like it's so freaking good. Kingslayer is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's just the best, dude. Yeah, also, the set, unfortunately, had to be stalled for a few minutes. I don't know really what happened, but I guess someone got their shit wrecked or whatever, because, yeah, during Lost, like, as we got into the breakdown, Ollie noticed something was wrong. Like, he's like, oh, we got someone down or something, and then, like, the whole band left the stage. They had this message come on the screen. It was like, oh, let's take a step back. Someone on the PA even was like, oh, we appreciate you're enjoying the show. Please take a couple steps back so that we can continue and all that. And yeah, it lasted like 5 minutes. It wasn't a particularly short delay or anything. And then by the time the band came back, they announced that they just had one song left. So kind of unfortunate. So a bit of a shortened set. And I'm not gonna lie, the crowd wasn't really great. Like Ollie seemed almost annoyed by it a little bit. And I mean, like, he kind of did the thing where it was like, oh, this pit ain't big enough, you know, kind of like a lot of bands do in general. But it seemed like Ollie was, like, actually a little bit disappointed. Maybe because he was doing those two side shows that were awesome, and then going to this, it was, like, you know, comparatively less fun. Oh, well, it is what it is, and it was still a fun set. So, I mean, obviously, I enjoyed myself quite a bit.
Hi, Mishi.
And then, actually, it's funny enough, sorry if this is bad concert etiquette or something, but, me and a few others took advantage of this situation during the wait, you know, and we actually got a lot of progress in making our way through the crowd. So, yeah, I actually advanced my position pretty significantly through that down period. So sorry if that's like a mean thing to do, but I don't know. I was just following a bunch of other people. I wasn't taking charge or anything. I also wanted to mention that when I was standing around for like Ice Nine Kills and Babymetal, or before those sets, there were like a couple of guys that were just straight up shoving their way through the crowd and getting pissed when they weren't getting their way. Like, there was one guy who was like who was dead-ass carrying a fucking thing of egg rolls above his head, and he was, like, getting mad that people weren't moving for him. You know, he just had a big attitude, and I'm just like, man, would sure suck if someone slapped those egg rolls out of his fucking hand. Whatever. I mean, obviously, we always say, like, oh, man, look at this fucking guy, but, you know, no one does anything, because at the end of the day, we don't want to cause trouble, and we're just like, whatever, just fuck that guy. It was pretty difficult getting through, the crowds early on, though, and I mean, I guess at any point, but I mean, hey, that's how it is. People stand in front and they want to be in front and they don't want to move. I don't blame them. I don't want to move either. I also got kind of annoyed whenever someone just like tried getting through and then stood right in front of me. It's like, okay, well, that's not how we expected this to go, but oh well. Anyway, yeah, so over on the red stage, next stage over, Slipknot came out. They immediately opened with People Equals Shit, which is my favorite Slipknot song. I'm not like a huge Slipknot fan. I'm only just I'm kind of just all right with them. But that's one of my favorite songs of all time, and definitely my favorite Slipknot song. I was so stoked to hear that first thing when they came out. They brought out their freaking old jumpsuits, and then like announced after this show that they were doing like a 25th anniversary tour. So yeah, that's like a thing. Again, I don't really know what's going on with Slipknot, so I didn't really know that they had like this weird lineup change, or I don't know, stuff going on with the band. But I guess that's kind of over. And yeah, now they've got this really awesome tour coming up. They also announced Knotfest like right after this show, so I'm not going to Knotfest, but I think some of the people in my Discord that I joined are going to go, so that's cool. It was fun for a few minutes for me, and then I noticed, like after 2 or 3 songs, I noticed something really awful happened. I noticed that my wallet was no longer in my pocket. My wallet, it was gone. Funny enough, during Bring Me the Horizon, like there were a couple of people, just whoever I was standing in front of. This one girl just out of nowhere fucking attacked the dude right in front of me, just started hitting him, and you know, at first people like split off like a pit was opening up, but it was like, no, this girl was like legit fighting, and she was just like he stole my phone, and we're just like, okay, what the fuck's going on? And you know, then they're like arguing with each other, and it turns out like this guy didn't steal her phone, but like her phone was taken or something like that. So it's like, okay, I'm just like, I'm literally just standing right behind them. I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't see anything. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go somewhere else now. Excuse me. Yeah, but that was unfortunate. And then once we got into Slipknot, I realized my wallet was gone, and I'm just like, okay, that's a thing. I don't have my wallet anymore, which includes my debit card, my credit card, and my ID. That's just gone now. I'm like tapping my pockets over and over again. I'm like, no. I'm like, nah, it's in my pockets. It's kind of buried deep within my pockets. Like I brought my phone charger with me, which is a really long cord. Specifically, I brought the cord for the charger. I wasn't actually sure how the charging situation was going to work over there. So I just brought the cord thinking that I might be able to get a plug-in somewhere. So I had that in my pocket. I'm like, oh, it's like tangled within the cord, right? And it's like, nope, it's no matter how much I twist and turn my pockets around, it's not showing up. And I'm like, all right, well, that's something I'm going to have to deal with. But I'm thinking, hey, you know what? Just live in the moment, dude. Just don't worry about it right now. Right now, what matters is that I'm here at this fucking festival that I worked so hard to be at, and I was looking so forward to. So I got through the rest of Slipknot's set, and I was, trying to keep a positive attitude, trying to keep a, positive mindset about everything. Cause like, dude, System of a Down's gonna be playing. Like I've quite literally waited my entire life for this. Well, not my entire life, but, after Slipknot, after their set finishes, I just try screaming out in the crowd. I'm like, has anyone seen a wallet with a Kansas ID? And because actually after the Knocked Loose set, there was actually some chick who was holding up a wallet, and she's like, hey, we found a wallet. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe someone, noticed my wallet was gone. I definitely remember stepping on something soft at some point during the fest when I was when I was making my way through the crowd, either for Bring Me the Horizon or Slipknot. I definitely remember stepping on something and being like, what the fuck is on the ground? And I didn't check, and I'm like, maybe that was my wallet. I don't know. I look on the ground around me, stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't see it. And no one answers me when I call out for it. So yeah, but it was only a couple of minutes before System of a Down started playing, so it's just like, whatever, forget about it. Just enjoy the moment. I'm here. I'm here. System of a Down is now playing. I've been a fan of System of a Down for 15 years. That is more than half of my life. And I have never even come close to seeing System of a Down live because they've never gone on fucking tour. All right. Like, I've basically been a fan of them since they reunited in, like, 2010, and they've, like done maybe a couple of tours in major cities, and beyond that, they show up, like, once a year to play in LA. And that's their entire thing. That's all they freaking do. This is not only the first time I'm seeing System of a Down, but maybe the only time I will ever get to see this band. That is so important to my life. And I'm really trying to think about that. But all I can think about is, what the fuck am I going to do right when this show ends? What the fuck's going to happen? I don't have my ID anymore. I don't have my cards anymore. Like, this is terrible. This sucks. Like, I'm trying so hard not to think about these things. I'm trying to think, like, again, just think about what's going on right now. Like, even if I wanted to freak out about it, there's nothing I can do about it. I have to at least wait for the show to end to even look for my wallet. Or go to Lost and Found. But even still, I'm just like, how am I going to check into my hotel? How am I even going to get home? Like that's legit the one thing on my mind. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get home if I don't have my ID. Like, I need my ID to get through the airport. Like, what is going to happen if I can't get through customs because I don't have ID anymore? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm legit thinking, like, oh shit, is my life over after this festival ends because I'm not going to be able to do anything anymore because I don't have my ID? Like, I'm legit just thinking terrible things about this. The just insane, massive ramifications about this. I'm really trying to just focus on the festival, but the anxiety just gets the better of me. It starts just, like, shutting down my freaking brain. Even my physical health, like, I'm starting to feel unwell because of this. Like, I'm feeling like I'm getting kind of shivers from thinking about this. So now I'm thinking, well, even if I want to stay here, I'm not going to be able to enjoy the show because I'm not feeling very good. I'm not going to be able to, like, mosh and stuff because it's going to make me faint because of how just unwell I'm feeling physically and all that. So I leave the freaking crowd while this is going on. Just, yeah, I hated it, and I hated having to do that, but I just really had no other options in the moment. I'll mention that when I try moving through the crowd, I try, like, you know, latching on to someone else because I feel like that's easier just to navigate through the crowd. And so I was actually like I had my hand on this one girl's back that I was just following, and after like a minute, she just, like, shoved my hand off, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't, you know, mean to touch you or anything. And then she hid in front of her boyfriend. She made, like, some gesture, like she was talking to him, and she's like, oh, she, like, did this, and I'm just like, fuck, dude, like, I made this girl really uncomfortable. And if by any chance that girl is watching, I am really fucking sorry about that. Like, seriously, I didn't mean to do, you know, anything weird. You know, I was just trying to get through my crowd, and I was just nervous myself. So yeah, I felt really bad about that. I'm really, really sorry. I'll try to be better. Again, I was just trying to get through the crowd, and I maybe went a little bit overboard with, you know, latching on to people and stuff like that. I'm really sorry about that. I felt terrible about it. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm, again, like, this is the thing about anxiety. Like, I'm rationalizing it in my head. I'm like, okay, look, what if I just left it at the frickin' food table, that the food stand that I went where I got my chicken? You know, that was, like, the one thing. I'm just like, this must have just happened because I bought something, like, an hour ago at this food stall. So I go back over there. I'm like, hey, did someone leave a wallet here? Because I'm thinking, like, I must have taken my wallet out and just left it on the counter and then just walked away. And then they're like, nope, we haven't seen a wallet. Okay. So then I think, all right, maybe I have to go to Lost and Found or something like that. So, which is all the way in the front of the venue, like back at the entrance. So I go all the way over there. Sleep Token was actually playing. Funny enough, I'm not a fan of Sleep Token. I actually don't like Sleep Token's music, like, at all. I've always been, like, on this hate train for Sleep Token. So I'm actually one of the people who was glad that they separated Sleep Token from System of a Down and had them play at the same time. I actually thought, a lot of people hated that, but I actually thought it was fine because I think that's two different audiences right there. I think a lot of people would want to see System but not want to see Sleep Token. So I thought that was actually a good move by the organizers. Unpopular opinion right there. But I was still thinking, I'm like, well, I've got a lot of friends who like Sleep Token, and I'm going to be... before they announced the set times and all, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go to Sleep Token's first ever U.S. set. Like, I was going to go ironically, essentially, but then they announced it was at the same time as System of a Down. I'm like, okay, never mind. The System is much more important than that. But you know what? Since I walked by them, I actually did see a little bit of them. I heard them play Vor a little bit. I just had this one picture. I meant to take a fucking video, and I didn't because I'm stupid. I'll also mention that on this one stage, the Spiral stage, they had their lights set up like for the entire day or something. So, because I remember walking by and seeing like Slaughter to Prevail playing under the Sleep Token logo or something like that. So that was kind of funny. I don't know how that entirely worked, but whatever. I heard it was a great set. I heard, the Sleep Token fans were very happy, of which there were many. I saw so many Sleep Token shirts that day. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, technically I did go see Sleep Token. Haha, neener to my Sleep Token fans, friends. Anyway, so I went to the Lost and Found section at the front of the festival, and they actually said that they didn't have it there, or not that they didn't have my wallet there, which was technically true, but that the Lost and Found was actually moved outside of the venue, and it was like essentially in front of it. So essentially that meant I would have to leave the venue and then come back in, but like it was 11:30 at that point, and the festival ended at midnight, so it was like there was no point. So I just go back to System of a Down. I just honestly laid down for a little bit. Like I legit just wanted to like lay down and sleep and just like forget about it and just like wake up at the end of the show so I could go look for my wallet on the ground. Couldn't do that. I couldn't like rest or anything. So I go back. I go back and I check out a little bit of whatever was left. So I ended up filming the last couple songs, which were Toxicity and Sugar. I'm gonna shout out this clip right here, this little bit. I just love that. Yeah, and then it ended, and so yeah, unfortunate how waiting 15 years to see System of a Down ended up being kind of a disaster for me because I was just so unwell in the moment. Yeah, so then I just waited for the crowd to filter out, and then I just started looking on the ground for wherever my wallet may have been, because I'm thinking, I'm like, I just had it before I got around the gold stage, so it must be around gold stage. I'm like, I even kind of remembered my path going through the audience, because I'm thinking, like, I must have just dropped it, because when I was just resting for a bit, I actually noticed, like, I should actually mention, I should show what I was wearing. So these were my cargo shorts that I was wearing at the festival. Hang on, get out of here. With the little Fennekin attached to them. And I had my wallet in the front pocket on the side, which is buttoned up. It has two buttons right here. But I realized one of the buttons was like undone. And I actually thought that was my fault, and I just didn't button it up. I was like too lazy to button it up or whatever. But I was still thinking like it would still be good, because in order to get into this pocket, you have to like lift up the flap and actually get in. But I was also testing when I was like laying down on the ground. Like I basically tilted my pants back with my phone, and I actually realized you actually could like my phone could slip out like that. So I'm thinking that must have happened to my wallet, when I was just like, I don't know, stomping to Bring Me the Horizon or something like that. At least that's what I was hoping would happen. Didn't end up finding my wallet on the ground anywhere, so awesome. So yeah, then it was just going back to Lost and Found for real this time, of which there was a massive line for it. So, yeah, it sucked waiting for that. And at this point, I'm just now, like, completely exhausted. Both physically and also now mentally because this is now just eating me alive. So, finally get through Lost and Found. It's not there. Nothing about it. So, we're told that, the place will be open for the next day, so we can come back for Lost and Found. But yeah, that sucks. Yeah, and so now I'm just getting out of the festival. So we'll talk about, this is now like part 3, I guess, the final part of it. For a little while, I'm actually just waiting around because I feel like I'm too tired to walk back to my hotel, so I just want to get an Uber back. I end up waiting like 30 minutes, and I can't get an Uber. I technically could, but the normal prices were obscene. It was like $50 to get an Uber back to my hotel. So I was trying to wait for, the prices to drop. There was an option where it's like, oh, wait 15 minutes and you can get one for like $25. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. But then like I did that, and it still wouldn't give me an Uber to my hotel. So I try a few times, and eventually I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just fucking walk back. Although while I was waiting, I did, I called the airport because I was just so anxious about having to get through the, about just having to get back on my flight, essentially, without my ID. I call the airport, and I'm like, hey, I lost my ID. How do so can I still get on my plane? And the lady at customer service I was talking to was actually very confusing, because she's just like, no, sir, you have to show up to your flight 3 hours early, and then you have to get screened by TSA or something like that. And I'm just like, and I just assumed that was like a hard no. Like, if I don't have ID, then I'm just fucked. Like, I thought that's essentially what she was saying. So I'm just like, okay, so like, what are my options? Like, do I have alternatives to this? And she's like, you can show up 3 hours early and get screened by TSA. I'm like, oh, you meant that's what I have to do because I don't have ID, and after the screening I can get on my flight. And she's like, yes. I'm like, okay, thank God, that's what I wanted to hear. So at least there was some, light at the end of this tunnel. It's like, okay, well, at least I know for sure I can get home. But now it's a matter of like, what's going to happen now until then, because it's Saturday, or I guess Sunday, technically, at 1 a.m. And then my flight doesn't, happen until Monday at 5 a.m. So I'm still in Vegas for like 28 hours or something like that. So eventually I say fuck it and walk back to my hotel, which ended up not being that big of a deal, honestly. Actually having that, conversation, talking to someone at the airport about that actually helped me a lot. It's like, okay, that's one big weight lifted off my shoulders. Again, it's like, okay, there's a way out of this. Fine. At least I know I can get home. So that's good news right there. But still really sucks having to deal with all that. Yeah, and then there was the whole saga of getting back into my hotel. So I go up to the front desk, and I'm like, hey, dude, got a situation right here. I was just out, and my wallet is now gone, which includes the room key that I had and my ID and all of that. So, and I'm trying to tell him, like, it's me. I've got my, I got my room. It's on my phone. I've even got a picture of my ID front and back on my phone. But the guy is like, well, I need to call security about this, because it's not really, that's something for them to decide. So, yeah, so he calls security, and this guy comes over. He's wearing an orange shirt, so I'll just call him the orange guy for future reference. I tell him my situation. I'm like, hey, I'm, checked into this hotel, but I was out and lost my wallet, which had my room key and my ID in it. So, I'm just like, I've gotten a picture of my ID on my phone and all. I can tell you everything that's in the room that I'm staying in. I know what room number it is and all that. And he's like, sorry, but you can't get in without ID. We can't check you in if you don't have ID. That's hotel policy. And I'm like, okay, so what about my stuff? Like, I've got my stuff in this room. And I'm trying to tell him, I can tell you everything that's in this room, dude. Like, it's my stuff. And he's like, is there anything that you have your name? Anything that has your name on it? And I'm just like, I don't think so. So, and that was another deal breaker. It's like, sorry, then can't really do that for you. I'm like, okay, well, what if you just get my stuff out of my room and I check out of the hotel? Like, what if we just do that? Fuck it, I'm willing to do that. I'll just live at the airport for the next day. And he's like, well, the system will check you out automatically, And I forgot what he said, what would happen with my stuff afterwards. I think, like, they clear out the room and, like, maybe I could come pick it up or something. I don't remember what the details about that. So, yeah, but so basically it's like a no, I can't get into my hotel room now because I don't have my freaking ID. So it's like, all right, awesome. So yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. I just kind of sit down in the lobby, just like defeated. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do now. Also, my phone's at like 5% battery, which is actually not a nightmarish situation. Number one, I had my cable with me, which ended up coming in clutch because there was a wall plug-in that I could use for a little bit. And also, the reason why I had battery still at all is because I actually had airplane mode on at the festival. I should have mentioned this while I was talking about the festival. Once I realized that the signal was like fucked for the festival, I just turned on airplane mode, and I turned it back on for a couple of times throughout the day. But I basically couldn't do shit throughout the entire day, so I didn't even try. Just left that on airplane mode, and yeah, that saved up a ton of battery. So I ended up my phone's not even that good. It actually drains the battery pretty quickly. Like, that shit can drain to 0 in a few hours, just by like using the camera and all that, and with, you know, signal and stuff. So having airplane mode on the entire time, yeah, that like really saved the battery for the entire day, and that again really helped because I had nothing else to do. I was like out of options for that night. So I kind of just like sit down for a bit. And then I get up and I talk to the orange guy again. I'm like, hey, what if I go to the airport and like get my boarding pass? Like, that would have my name on it, right? What if I do that and then come back? Would I be able to check into my room if I do that? And he's like, yeah, it'd be some form of identification, and we would allow that. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do. I guess I'm gonna have to. I call an Uber to take me to the airport. And as I'm waiting for the Uber, I suddenly get a eureka moment. I like a light bulb comes on in my head. I suddenly remember the cardboard tube that I brought with me that was completely useless. It has my name on it. I'm like, oh my fucking god, that's the thing. So I tell him, I start looking for the orange guy again, and there was the guy in the hall that was checking for the room keys. I'm like, hey, where's that orange guy? Like, I need to talk to him. And he's like, oh, that's my boss. I'll page him. So he does that, and he said it's going to be a minute before he actually comes down. So I'm just like sitting on this chair in the hall, trying to get as much of a charge on my phone as I can. And it ended up taking like 20 or 30 minutes for this guy to show up. And even when he did, he was actually dealing with something else that was going on, I guess, because he didn't immediately come and talk to me. The guy in the hall was like really chill. He was a guy that seemed like, he was working, and he had an attitude appropriate for work, which was generally disinterested in just kind of everything, and just being like, kind of whatever about everything. But he actually seemed to pity me in this situation. He actually handed me a small water, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry it's taking so long. And I'm just like, dude, it's okay, man. I don't got anything else to do right now. I'm kind of fucked, so this is fine, honestly. If anything, I was like happy about this, because it's like, well, at least I can sit down and charge my phone. Like, this is my phone right now is my fucking lifeline. Like if I don't have power in my phone, I'm dead. Like, just straight up, I can't do anything beyond that. So finally, the orange guy comes back over, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I've been talking. I'm sorry I've been like bothering you like so many times, but like, I just remembered I have this thing in my bag. It's a cardboard tube that's supposed to store posters in. It was an old piece of mail, essentially, but I do admit something. I do admit to him, it's got an old address on it. But I say, it's got my name on it, though. Like, he specifically said, there needs to be something with my name on it. I'm like, it's got my name on it, but because I guess the old address, he's still like, no. He still says no, can't do that. And I'm just like, I'm so I'm getting really I'm real disappointed and frustrated, but not at anybody other than myself. I hold no animosity towards anyone in this situation except for me, because I'm fucking stupid and lost my wallet. So yeah, but then I think of one last thing. I think of one more thing, and it's so simple, right? It's actually like the easiest. Like, why didn't I think of this earlier? I ask him, what if I just give you my like confirmation, like the actual reservation information that I have on my phone? Like, I use this to check in. Like, why can't I use this to check back in even with my ID? And he's like, you'd have to ask the front desk about that. That would be their call, essentially. So I go back up to the front desk and I, talk to the guy that I talked to originally I'm like, hey, dude, like, I've got my confirmation number and all on my phone. Like, what if I just give you that to get into my room? And he's like, I'd have to ask my manager about that. So he calls his manager, and the guy, like, he's already understanding of the situation. He already knows what's going on. I tell him about it. I'm like, hey, I've got my, hotel reservation on my phone. I've got the information on my phone. He's like, I'd have to ask security about this. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? I mean, it's been like an hour or two since this started, and I'm just like, I just want to get into my room and put my head down, dude. So he calls the orange guy over again. I'm talking to this guy again, and they're kind of, the manager is relaying information to the orange guy. He's like, he's got the reservation on his phone. He can identify things in his room. He just doesn't have physical ID. What do you say about it? And the orange guy is like, it's your call. You're the manager. This is your thing. And the orange guy was like, again, he was all right. He wasn't like being a dick or anything. He's just, following policy essentially. Like that was the one binding thing. It was like the policy of not being able to check in if I didn't have a physical ID. That was the one thing holding everything up. Everyone was completely understanding of my situation, but just the objective rule was holding everyone back. So yeah, so the security guy is like, it's your call. I'm fine with it. I don't really care. No one really cared. It was just this objective rule. So the manager, he's like, at his desk, kind of like this. He's like really thinking about it. He's like, and again, I tell him about the cardboard tube. He's like, all right, what's the address on that thing you have? And I give him the old address. He's like, what's your current address? I give him that. He like pauses for a bit, thinking. He's like, what's the last 4 digits on the card that you used to pay for the hotel? I give him that. He stalls for a bit again, and he's just like, and he makes me a new room key. After like I swear, like 60 to 90 minutes of just like negotiating and sitting around and waiting, finally he gives me this room key, and he's like, I've never done this before, and I kind of don't want to do it again. Like, this is a one-time thing. You're not getting another one of these. Like, so if you're out of your, if I see you in 5 minutes and you don't have your room key, I'm not even calling security. Like, you're done. And I'm like, I fully understand, sir. Thank you so much. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm dead ass about to break down crying because of this. Like, I am in such relief that I can get back into my room. I'm literally like looking at all these guys. I'm just like, I understand. I am so sorry that my situation has been so complicated and irritating for you all. I want you all to know how grateful I am that you did this for me. I understand that we're breaking rules here, but seriously, I'm so thankful for all of this, and I really was and am. I'm so glad that they were able to do that for me. So, oh my god, just like legit, I get in the elevator and I'm like tearing up. Like, I'm like, oh my god, like nervously laughing. I'm like, it's over. I can get back into my room. I have my stuff back. the guy, the hallway guard was just like, "Oh, you're good now." I'm like, "Yes, thank you so much." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for all the trouble." I'm like, dude, I'm the one who's making everyone's jobs complicated tonight. It's fucking like 2 or 3 a.m. I've got all this dumb shit going on, and I'm bothering you guys with it. I'm the one who's sorry. Yeah, but finally, I got into my room. So, at least I was able to just, put my head down. And I really wish I could have slept, but once again, the anxiety was just devouring me completely. Like, I deadass got 1 hour of sleep, maybe. Like, I'm trying everything. I'm turning this thermostat down about as low as it can go. I'm turning it down to like 60 degrees so that I can freeze in this room. It actually didn't feel that cold in the room, even when I was turning it down as much as I could. The Howard Johnson had a way better AC. Yeah, I'm literally just like laying in my bed, just like tossing and turning for just hours and hours. And I finally, I set my alarm for 10 because I had to check out at 11. Because at this point, I'm now thinking okay, well, at least I have my stuff back. That's one thing, but I still have to deal with, getting around, getting through the airport and all that. What about tomorrow's hotel and stuff like that? I'm just still so worried about the prospect of not having my wallet and not having my ID and my cards and stuff like that. It just keeps me awake, and I can't relax because of it, just no matter what I do. At 5 or 6 a.m., I text my older sister that I live with, asking her about the car, because she was saying that the car was going to get fixed over the weekend, and hopefully she could be picking me up on Monday. So, yeah, I text her, and she gets back to me, and she's like, yeah, we're good now. So I'm like, okay, I've got a predicament going on. I kind of lost my bearings here, so there's that. So I'm going to need some help with that when I get home. And she's just like, how, why? And I'm just like, I don't know. Either I dropped it because I'm an idiot, or frankly, it was just fucking stolen from me. It's one of those two things. Yeah. Funny enough, though, by the way, once I got into my hotel, here's something hilarious that happened. I remembered something else, or rather, I saw. I did mention this, right? Did I mention that I brought this with me? My acne prescription. This has my name on it. It's a prescription box that still has the labels on it. So that was something that had my name on it. It didn't have my address or anything, but it was a prescription and it had my name on it. So, yeah, that might have been something that could have been useful information hours before I realized that. Maybe a lot of trouble could have been saved if I just remembered that. But honestly, it was something so random that I brought with me that I just didn't think about it at all. So, unfortunate, but whatever. It was a bit relieving, talking to my sister, frankly, just talking to someone, but it was still, it was only temporary relief. I still couldn't freaking relax or anything. So, yeah, I'm just restless in my room for the entire morning. I take a shower at 10 a.m. or so, and then, start getting ready to leave. And I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm just going to face the day like this. So, yeah, I leave at I check out essentially when I need to at around 11. Fortunately, because my card is on my phone for some apps, I'm still able to pay for some things, and I'm really checking my bank activity and all that, and fortunately nothing's gotten used or anything, so there's I've got that going for me at least. But I'm already thinking that I'm probably not going to be able to check into Circus. And spoiler alert, I don't even attempt to. I don't go to Circus at all. I don't even try it. I'm just it's probably not going to work. I look on their website. I'm like, do I have to have ID to check in? And the website says yes, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna go through that whole process again. And honestly, it doesn't matter anyway, because I had to get to my flight leaves at 5:25 a.m. and the customer service lady says I need to be at the airport 3 hours early. So, like, what am I even going to be checking into at this point? Like, what am I even going to for the hotel for? So, just, I say fuck all of that. Unless, you know, by chance I end up finding my wallet. So, my plan is to go back to the festival grounds, back to the Lost and Found, and see if I can get there. Or if it will show up there. I do stay around the hotel for a little bit, because I want to make sure I have a few things to prepare me for the rest of the day. So I end up Uber Eating some things. I actually end up getting these. I request someone to go to Walgreens and get me a box of Quest bars, just so I have, you know, again, just food in a pinch, because I'm trying to eat these Cliff bars right here, and they're just straight up not doing anything for me. Like, throughout the night, I was like just like munching down on a couple of these because I was getting hungry, and I'm just like, I'm still hungry. Nothing's happening. I don't feel my body being fueled at all. So, I know the Quest bars, they've got like so much fiber in them that they'll help a lot more. But so yeah, so I request that, and I put in another request. I also, sorry for the TMI here again, but I also request Cottonelle wet wipes, because, like I said, the anxiety really fucks me up internally, and so I'm like rushing to the bathroom every like 30 minutes or every hour to take these tiny but very obnoxious and very painful anxiety shits, as I call them. You know, where I get wet wipes because I'm constantly wiping my ass throughout the day, and the fucking industry grade toilet paper isn't going to be very comfortable with that. So yeah, I get wet wipes for that. And thank God I do, because yeah, I fucking got destroyed by all of this throughout the day. So that ended up helping me a lot. A whole fucking lot. Again, sorry for the TMI there, but I just needed to bring that up. I was suffering throughout this day, in more ways than one. And yeah, and I also request lunch. This time I really don't want fast food. I request. I want to shout out what this place is. I really want to make it known what this place was. It was I believe, an actual local place. Hopefully I can pull it up on like my past history or whatever. Uber Eats, it's loading. Activity. Let's see. Okay, it was called the Protein Source. That's what I got. I don't know if that's like a chain or whatever, but you know, it's something that I got, and I got a salad and a wrap. I got a Cobb salad and a salmon wrap. So yeah, I got that, and it was fucking disgusting. Like, that shit was terrible. The Cobb salad that I got, I thought Cobb salads were supposed to have, like, meat in them or something. This didn't have any meat whatsoever. It had, like, a deviled egg in it. That was about it. It was mostly just lettuce and onions, and I don't fucking know what else, but it was not good at all. I only ate, like, half of it. I tried the salmon wrap. I dead ass almost throw up when I'm like halfway through this wrap. I almost throw up, and it was so I immediately stop eating it. I'm just like, just take it down, just take it down, because the last thing I want, of course, is to fucking throw up when I feel like I'm limited on food and also money at this point. Because at this point, I'm starting to really, you know, siphon into whatever money I have left. I'm actually now thankful that I didn't get any festival merch, because now that's like an extra $150 that I might desperately need through all of this, because now all the, you know, deliveries I'm getting is just way more money than what I was expecting to pay. So yeah, so I managed to stomach it, but dude, their food fucking sucked. That was disgusting. And there were two things also wrong with this. First of all, the delivery driver just like couldn't actually find the place that I was in. There was a lot of trouble with him getting to me, to the point where he just straight up got out of his car and like walked to me on like whatever his GPS told him, which, you know, he was telling me that like Uber, the app that they give him, is like isn't entirely reliable with locations or whatever. And I was like cool with it. I'm just like, it's, you know, I'm definitely not going to, you know, get mad at any, you know, base level employees or whatever. So I sympathize with him. I felt bad. So yeah, I was still grateful that he delivered my stuff at all, with all the trouble that it took to get there. It was like he was there for like 15 minutes just like looking for me. So We got it, and I realized he hands me this black bag, and I realized like, hey, are there smart waters in here? Because I ordered 2 bottles of smart water from this place, and he's like, oh shit, dude, are you serious? And I'm just like, it's cool, dude. It's not your fault. Probably. I hope it wasn't his fault. He even said, he's like, don't worry about the tip or the rating or anything like fuck all this. And I was like, it's cool. I tipped him anyway. I gave him 5 stars anyway because he was chill about it. But yeah, so I paid dead ass $40 for that salad and that wrap plus the 2 smart waters because the smart waters were like $3 or $4 each, which ended up being a massive waste. So yeah, fuck the protein source. Bunch of assholes didn't give me my fucking smart water. So now I have to make another delivery request. I tell someone else to go to fucking Walgreens and give me 2 bottles of water. Because like I'm for real. Like I don't know like what I'm gonna be doing throughout the entire day. So I'm like just making sure I have food and drink so I can survive for the day. I'm taking, like, extreme survival, well, not extreme survivalist, but, like, basic survivalist methods at this point, because I don't know what's going to go on. So, those get delivered to me, and then I decide, all right, time to go. So, I walk, once again, to the festival grounds. I walk to the Lost and Found, see if I can get my stuff there, which actually ended up being kind of an exhausting walk. I was thinking I'd just, just power through everything, but the sun was beating down on me. I had my, luggage with me and all, and it was a bit warmer that day, so, yeah, I was sweating a good bit, and it was like noon when I was doing this, or like 1 o'clock. So we get to Lost and Found, I ask about the wallet, not there, I'm just talking with some people in the Lost and Found line, and it's such a sad experience. It's like everyone's just like so down and sad, especially because we're all like, I was telling them, I'm like, dude, this was the best weekend of my life right up until I noticed my wallet was gone. And they're just like, yeah, same, like this was such a great time, and then this one thing happened and it just fucking ruined everything. So yep, no wallet there. I get the girl at the at the place, she tells me about the app that they have where like the stuff gets turned in and then you can request it if it shows up or whatever. Yeah, so she tells me about that, so I just keep tabs on that. To this day, still haven't seen anything on there. So also, like, a lot of the stuff that I saw on, like, Monday or Sunday is still there, so I hope other people know. I hope the people that lost stuff know about this app. Maybe I should mention what it was. Just in case, I don't know, someone else lost something, and then they need to know about this. It was sicknewworldfest.liff.app. So that's what it was. That's the place for Lost and Found. So, yeah, so the next thing I just feel like I got to do is I got to go to the police station. I figure this is just this should be my next course of action. I should go to the police station and file a report about this. I mean, again, I'm like, I got nothing else to do today, so fuck it. At first, my plan was to walk to the police station, again, to save money, but again, it was like hot and I was exhausted, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'll take an Uber. So I get an Uber to the police station. I wait there actually for like an hour or even 2 hours, which I was actually cool with because, again, I've got nothing to do today. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. I get an appointment. I show up. They give me a number, and again, I wait like an hour or two for it. And then when I get there, I'm just like at this desk for like an hour or so while this woman just gets all the information that she can out of me. Good thing I had my a photo of my ID on my phone. I just like slipped that over to her so she could get all that information on there. I gave my own account of the police report and all that good stuff. And it took a while, but she was just putting in as much information as I could. I told her about the wallet. I told her about what was in the wallet, stuff like that. Yeah, just did whatever I could to just make it known that hey, I lost a wallet and maybe it was stolen. I don't know. There's no proof that it was stolen, but a lot of people had stuff stolen. When I was in the Lost and Found line, one of them people said that over 300 phones were pickpocketed. at Sick New World Fest. And of course, like, I go on the Reddit and there's like post after post of like, oh, my stuff got stolen, or I go on Facebook, it's like, my stuff got stolen. Again, someone right in fucking front of me had their stuff stolen from them. So yeah, you know what, maybe it is possible that my stuff was fucking taken from me. That's unfortunate. Then it surprises me that no one like used the cards or anything, so it's like, I don't know what they could be doing with it. I don't know. Maybe I'll find out in like a month or two if someone's been using my ID for whatever shit in Vegas. I don't know what the fuck goes on over there. But yeah, so I file the police report, I get that, and then I just figure next thing I gotta do is just go to the airport. Like I'm legit, like, again, I'm like, I don't even want to try going to Circus. I mean, plus it'd be another trip anyway. It'd be another Uber. So, I don't want to go over there and then find out that I can't check in. And even if I could check in, I'm still probably not going to be able to fucking sleep anyway because of all this shit. Like, I know for a fact that I'm just not going to be able to actually calm down and rest until I go home. So, yeah, so I get an Uber to the airport. I get in there, and the first thing I do is I literally just, like, go up to the first people I see who work for the airport. I'm like, hey, here's my situation. What do I do? And they're just like, okay, go talk to TSA. I'm like, okay, where's TSA? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. They're just like, yeah, just go to this place. They direct me to where TSA is. I go up there. Actually, I go up there and then ask someone else. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to TSA because I don't have my ID on me or whatever. And they're just like, oh, go talk to, you know, this person in particular. So I do that. You know, it was basically like the same place where you go to check in your stuff, and but I just like asked the guy. I was like, hey, I'm like, I don't have my ID on me, and I need to, you know, get screened and all that. And he's like, okay, just wait here for a second. You know, he lets a few people through, and he's like, all right, you know, what do you got? Essentially, I'm like, yeah, I don't have my ID on me, but you know, I've got my flight information on my phone. I've got a picture of my ID on my phone as well. And he's like, we can't accept that. I'm like, I know you can't accept it, but I'm just saying it's there just to help identify me, hopefully. But then I also tell him, I'm like, I've got a couple of things in my bag with my name on. And he's like, all right, what do you got? And I say, I've got my police report that I just submitted that, of course, has my information. You know, it's certified and all that. And also my prescription box. And like, the moment I said the prescription box, he's like, oh, great. Yeah, that would work. It's like, for some reason, the prescription of all things was like the golden ticket that I had to help identify me. So I give him that stuff, and he's, you know, looking at it. He's like, all right, fine. He asks for my, you know, boarding pass and all that, and he tries scanning, and he's like, I need your current boarding pass. This is old or something. And I'm like, no, that's for my next flight. It's for tomorrow at 5:25. He's like, oh, well, I can't accept this right now because it's not on the same day. He's like, you have to come back. You like, we can't check you in a day early, essentially. And I'm like, oh, well, shit. So, and I'm like, I'm kind of stuck here, dude. He's like, all right, well, I mean, you can relax here. Like, we've got couches in the airport. We've got restaurants and all that. And I'm like, will they accept, you know, non-direct payment like Google Pay or something like that? And he's like, yeah, they can do that. I'm like, okay, great. So I just have to sit in the airport for dead ass 13 hours. Like, I was at the airport at 4:30 and my flight left at 5:25 a.m. So yeah, I was just there for a little while. I was just sitting around on these chairs, just trying to relax. There were like these kind of tall desks that I could sit at, and they had charging ports right there. Unfortunately, those were like the only places I could charge my phone, and they had very limited seats. It was like 3 seats per desk or something, unless I wanted to stand there, and fuck no, I did not want to stand there. Yeah, so that was just it. I'm just sitting here at this airport. I like fall asleep intermittently a couple times for, you know, a few minutes, just but then I ended up like waking up with a ton of energy. It's like, all right, well, now I can't sleep for the next 6 hours or something like that. I end up going back to the frickin' Wendy's and get food at Wendy's once again, because I know that I just, for whatever reason, I was just familiar with it, and I'm like, I know I saw Google Pay on their register when I first went there. So yeah, I just figured I'll go and eat Wendy's again. I actually don't understand how Google Pay works at all. Like, it's something I can do on my phone, like, automatically, like, in certain apps, but I can't do it, like, at a register. So I'm like, hang on, I gotta figure this out. And it takes me, like, 10 or 15 minutes to figure out how this works. Because I'm trying to, like, put my card information in, but it's, like, a virtual card. It was complicated. It was annoying, and it sucked. But eventually I figured it out, so that was well and good. Yeah, and that was just it. I was just in the airport for a little while. The guy at TSA told me to come back at midnight at the very least, because again, I can't get checked in until it was the same day. So yeah, finally I got the clock turned midnight, the day turned, so I just figure, all right, back to TSA. I just look for someone to talk to over there. They flag someone down to get me screened and all that. It was like the guy at TSA for, like, just checking, just letting people in, essentially. Like, he just starts, or I guess he was like someone who checks ID or whatever. But then he, like, gets someone else to come over. I show her my, again, my stuff, my prescription and my police report and all that. So she leads me over to like the side with a different, well, I mean, I guess it's the same checkout or area, like the same security check-in area, except she just has me take off my shoes. Well, I think that's actually normal. Yeah, everyone takes off their shoes. But then essentially what they just do is they just pull me to the side, and actually, believe it or not, all they really did was just do a more thorough inspection of my bag. Like, that's all they did. They had my bag go through the normal machine, but then one guy opened it up and just, like, lifted some stuff up, had that thing that just, like, just, like, rubs on everything, and then he puts it into another machine to make sure there's no bombs attached to it or something like that. Yeah, so it was just a thorough bag inspection. That's really all I had to do to get through TSA after they, just checked my information, or what information I had on hand, as well as my actual boarding pass. So yeah, it actually ended up not being that much more effort than a normal flight. Because I was even like after the guy checked my bag, he's like, all right, you're good. I'm like, is that it? He's like, yeah, just go to your gate. I'm like, you serious? Like, that's all I had to do? Like, the lady on the customer service told me to show up 3 hours early. I really dead ass thought I was going to get in and, like, have to sit down for an interview or something just to really make sure it was me. Yeah. The only thing I just had to be aware of, the guy at, like, the front, he warned me of this. He's like, just make sure you don't leave once you're checked in, because there's only so many times that we'll check you in if you don't have your ID, because if you have to come back again, then there are we have to do a different method, essentially, and there are only so many different methods that we can do. So, and we have had issues with people like this before. Like, they show up, they don't have ID, and we get them checked in anyway, but then they leave because they want to screw around in the airport, and eventually it's just like, you can only get checked in so many times. After that, you have to take a bus. And I'm just like, all right, yeah, understood. I will not fuck around in the airport once I'm checked in. So sure enough, I just go to my freaking terminal and just sit there for like 4 or 5 hours just waiting for it to open. There was dead ass, like, no one there, just cleaners. Essentially, the place was dark. There were, of course, machines, like slot machines all around that I could try out, but I didn't have my physical card, so no point in that. I didn't have ID. I wouldn't be able to do anything like that. One thing that was a bit uncomfortable is that one point at like 3 or 4 in the morning, I really wanted to use one of the bathrooms, and both of the men's rooms that I found were busy because they were cleaning them. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just sit here and die, I suppose. That's pretty fun, but eventually I got it. I mean, one of the bathrooms opened, or I found a different one that was open, so got through that. And eventually my terminal opened. It was so funny. Like, I was there for like 5 hours, and there was like nobody there, and then suddenly 5 o'clock, and like the whole place is full, and I'm just like, where did all these people come from? Like, this place was empty a moment ago. I even asked the lady working at the desk for the terminal. I'm just like, hey, just making sure I don't have my ID. Do I just need my boarding pass to get on? Because I remember when I was when I was in Long Beach, the guy actually asked for my ID just to make sure it was me who was getting on that flight, because I guess they were trying to do a quicker check-in. But she's like, no, you just need your boarding pass. And I'm just like, all right, well, what about, like, when I get into Austin, do I just have to have my boarding pass for my next flight? She's like, yeah, you just need your boarding pass. So I'm like, all right, cool. Glad I don't have to do anything else. So, yeah, then it was just a matter of getting on those 2 flights. And that was it. And then I got home. And that's it. That was the saga of me having to deal with not having my ID when I was in Vegas, far from home. So I guess if there's any takeaway from that, it's that honestly, file a police report. Just go and do that if you've lost your ID in an unfamiliar place, because if nothing else, that will actually be a piece of identification that will hopefully get you through wherever else you're going. I now know for sure, like, this is now seared into my brain for whenever I travel again, that like there were definitely ways I could have prepared for this, for the festival, and even if something still happened, there are still ways I could have prepared for it. Like, for the festival itself, maybe I should have protected myself better. I definitely took for granted the kind of protection that I had with my cargo shorts. Like, I really thought that everything would just be fine with these shorts, that it would be too difficult to pickpocket them. Oh, how naive I was. I mean, I heard of people who had like actual full zip up pockets and were still pocketed. Like, people like, and managed to break zippers or break into bags without people noticing. Like, it's fucking insane how this happens. So I definitely don't want to seem like I'm deflecting, or rather like I'm victim blaming, like, oh, it's my fault because I didn't protect myself better. Like, that's not really what I want to say. It's just that, it happened. It happened, and all I can really do is just, hopefully protect myself better next time, and have more solutions for if this happens in the future. So yeah, next time hopefully I'll just have more protection. Here's a hilarious thing. Here's like the biggest joke of this whole thing. I knew that there were bag policies for Sick New World, like you could bring some bags in, and so I actually bought them all. I bought 3 different kinds of bags that I knew were acceptable for Sick New World. I got a fanny pack, I got a clear backpack, and I bought a hydration pack. I got all 3 of these things thinking that they're all eligible for the festival. So I have them. I wanted to, kind of try them out and see if I would need them. And I decided, no, I'm not going to need any of them. I bought all 3 of these bags and I didn't bring any of them. Give it up for me, guys. Like, that's just hilarious. So maybe a bag would have helped me a little bit. I definitely next time around will just bring like some kind of shoulder bag or a fanny pack or something. Again, I still heard of some people who had their packs broken into. I also realized that me saying like, oh, I maybe could have worn different clothing with like, full zip up pockets or something like that. I know that some women will probably be like, well, what about us who don't have such options with our cute dresses and skirts and stuff like that? You're right. I'm sorry. I don't have a solution for that. I'm definitely not going to, be able to provide advice on that. All I can do is offer my sympathies. Anyone who had their stuff jacked at Sick New World, like, or really any festival, like, I'm sorry. I definitely sympathize. It sucks. Yeah, what happened with me could have happened to anybody. So it is what it is. What else? Also, some things that I'm going to pack just for the future. I'm definitely going to keep more identifiable pieces for myself. Honestly, one thing that would have been so much easier. It's such a simple solution. It's like basic, frankly. Just have a tag on my bag. That's something I'm definitely going to have in the future, just in case something like that happens again. If I just had a tag on my bag that had my information on it, then I could have just probably checked into my hotel much sooner. After despite not having my ID, that would have been a piece of identifiable evidence for myself. Yeah, I'll probably just carry around some kind of secondhand form of identification for myself. I'll definitely not carry around so much physical stuff next time I'm at a live festival. Like, I'm probably not going to bring my whole wallet. I'll just probably bring maybe basic stuff like an ID and maybe a card or something like that. A debit card specifically. Don't want to, fuck around with a credit card. Well, It depends on how much money I have, I guess. One good thing that helped me a lot is I don't carry cash anymore. That's honestly one thing that I think benefits from having a cashless festival. We're now moving into this cashless society. I think that, so at least I didn't lose any actual money from just losing my wallet and all. What else? I feel like there was more that I wanted to talk about. I don't know. Just don't carry around all my stuff on my person when I'm out in public in front of like 85,000 people or however many were at the festival, because shit happens, dude. Shit can happen, and yeah, like losing my my wallet, it was a scary situation. I'm actually, to be honest, and I don't want to rub this in, I don't want to seem like I'm rubbing it in for anyone who did have this happen to them. I'm actually a little bit glad that I lost my wallet and not my phone. I feel like it actually would have been worse if my phone was gone. And again, I don't want to... I really genuinely sympathize with anyone who lost their phone, because that seems just absolutely awful. Because, I mean, like, sure, if I have my wallet, I got my ID and stuff, but then, like, my phone is how I'm getting around. Like, that's how I'm getting my Ubers. That's how I'm, like, doing a lot of my transactions and stuff. So it's like, if I didn't have that, I actually had no idea what was going to happen. Like, how am I going to communicate with people? How am I going to meet up with my friends? How am I going to meet up with fucking anybody? What can I do if I don't have my phone, dude? Like, that sucks. It's really bad. So, honestly, for future reference, I'm probably not even going to bring my actual phone to festivals. I'm just going to bring... I actually heard some people talk about, like having some kind of decoy phone. Like, you could just get, like, almost like a toy phone and just, like, get signal on it so that you can still, do some things with it. Like, you can still communicate with it if you need to. But, like, obviously, if it gets swiped, it's not, like, it's not going to, like, damage you all that much or set you back all that much. So, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm definitely going to have, like, a second phone for festivals or something like that, so that things are fine if it gets swiped, and yeah, just not carry around so much stuff on my person in case that also happens. So but if it does happen, then again, file a police report. It's identifiable. It's something that TSA and whoever else can use to identify you. So that definitely helped me out a lot. Having just something so simple as a prescription bottle was something that helped identify me. So that really came in clutch. Yeah, so that's the lessons learned from all of this. Finally got home, and yeah, and things are good now. I actually funny enough, in the middle of recording this, I actually went to the DMV and got my ID replacement, or filed for it at least. And then also went to the bank, got my cards, replaced and locked. It was a little bit scary because, of course, not having my cards, like not knowing what was going on about them, but still requiring them for purchases. Like, I still needed my cards for getting around on Uber and getting some food and stuff like that. So it was like, I know the advice is like, if your card is lost, like immediately turn it off. But it's like, I can't turn it off. I still need it. I still need to buy stuff with it. But fortunately, again, nothing has happened. So I hope everything's good beyond that. Aside from losing my wallet, this was honestly still a great experience for me. This was dead ass the best weekend of my life up until, like, I don't know, 9:30 p.m. when Slipknot was playing and I realized my wallet was gone. So the last two sets of Sick New World ruined. The day after that ruined, but the day leading up to that, amazing, essentially perfect. And the Friday with the Bring Me the Horizon show, like one of the best days of my entire life. The Bring Me the Horizon show was the best concert I ever went to in my entire life. And overall, I'm still like keeping my head high about this. I'm still extremely glad that I did this, and I'm honestly legit proud of myself that I did this. This was the first time I've ever done something like this. I don't do things like this. I'm not adventurous. I don't, get to do things that I feel like are worth sharing with other people. But in this case, this really was something that it's like I'm now telling everybody about it. I'm like, dude, look at this cool stuff that I did. I don't care if you don't know who this band is. I'm still going to show you. I don't care if you don't know who Knocked Loose is. I don't care if you don't give a fuck. History happened in front of me, okay? I need to share it with you. So, Yeah, and I definitely want to do this again. The only thing though is I might go alone again, because at least I know, like, that Discord group that I joined, we've ended up getting like kind of attached to each other, and we're just like, yeah, we got to do this again like next year. So we're already thinking about like, all right, here's what we do next year if we're gonna go. So yeah, so I mean, I definitely wouldn't go to another festival by myself again. I definitely, like, if I'm going to travel and stuff, I definitely want more of a game plan. Like, I still recommend people doing it, you know, traveling alone if they must, because I think it's still a good experience worth having. But it is, after that first experience, it's like, all right, I wish I was with someone. There was that feeling throughout the festival where it's like, I wish someone was with me during this. It would be a little more fun. And, you know, if my stuff gets stolen, at least I have someone else with me, right? That would be helpful a little bit. But fortunately, you know, things worked out. So, yeah. I'm also legit a little bit proud of my own crisis management skills, even if it just completely destroyed my mental and physical health. It's like, at least I was able to get through this. Like, at least I had the sense to, you know, do things the way I did, so that, you know, I got through it all in all. But yeah. So anyone that I met at Sick New World, even if we just had like a passing conversation, like the guy who had an Eevee on his shoulder, I just like tapped him with my small little fennec, and I'm like, Pokemon buddies. Yeah, that guy. Shout out to that guy. Shout out to everybody I met at Sick New World. Shout out to the Discord group that I joined. Again, sorry I didn't like hang out with you guys as much as I really wanted to, and you know, it definitely wasn't a matter of like not liking you guys or anything. It was just, you know, me just being normally introverted, and then having my day ruined or weekend ruined after that. But yeah, hopefully next time will be better. I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm going to go to Sick New World next year specifically, but I am definitely thinking about it. All of us in that group were just like, yeah, this was great. We should do this again. Maybe it'll depend on the lineup. But you know what? Both years have had some pretty incredible lineups. Out of like all the festivals that I've seen, at least in the U.S., Sick New World has like my favorite lineups. So yeah, we'll definitely see. And if that happens, I'll probably do another vlog about this. But until then, it was I hope you got something out of this. If you're like me and you're, you know, someone who doesn't, you know, go out very much, but you think about doing it, I hope you do. I hope you end up finding the resolve to go out and do it, because, again, like I said, it really is mostly just a matter of the resources. And I actually should have mentioned, just to round this up, how much everything cost. So like I said, it was $400 or so for the hotel, $440 for the festival, and then $420 for my flights. So that's $1,260 right there as like a basic thing. And then once I got to the thing, I wrote down, I specifically spent $100 on Uber, I believe, and then food for the weekend was $200, which is an extreme number. I would take that with a grain of salt. For you, would probably be like half of that. Some of that food I bought in like an emergency and overpaid for it to have like stuff delivered and stuff like that. So, but I'm just going to be transparent about that. And then food at the festival, I came down to $80 for, which some of it was like a total waste, like that fucking stupid ass hot dog that I bought. There were probably way better ways of, you know, going through this. I got like 2 or 3 Gatorades, which were each like $7 or $8 each. Probably could have cut that down. There were ways to save money on that. And I didn't get any festival merch, unfortunately. So overall, my festival experience, so yeah, that was what, $1,260 plus 200 plus 100, so $1,560 plus 80. So yeah, it was like $1,600 overall for this entire festival. And then there was, of course, the Thursday and the Sunday as well. That was another like $300 or so. Of course, I didn't end up checking into Circus Circus, so I saved $50 by that, I guess. And then there was the Bring Me the Horizon show, which cost me $200. So yeah, it was like overall $2,000 for my entire weekend. But I don't regret it. I mean, maybe I regret spending $100 of that, but that's about it. I would say it was $2,000 well spent in my life. Definitely a lot better than whatever I would have done if I didn't go to this, which would probably just be binge eating and taking edibles, which, you know what, I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take an edible right now. I thought about bringing these to the festival, but I'm like, I don't know if how I'll be able to get them through customs. And I don't want to take that risk. So, yeah, it was a lot of money, but, you know, you just gotta manage that, essentially. And honestly, doing this festival did make me manage my money a lot better than I normally do. So, I am looking forward to opportunities in the future. Hopefully, I'll be able to travel again and do something like this again. So, even if it's Sick New World next year or whatever else. Yeah, it was a great time. So shout out to everyone there. Shout out to Sick New World Fest. I did do that survey, by the way. I did tell them that their lines fucking sucked, but their sanitation crews were awesome, so shout out to them. And I recommended a few bands that I wanted to see. The one that I see a lot of people say is Rammstein, which would definitely be... That's now, like, my biggest number one, like... I gotta see these guys at some point in my life, but I doubt they'll be able to play Sick New World Fest. They've got way too much shit to do on their stage. But it would be insane if they could do that. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, so I'll end it here. Sorry, this was extremely long, but again, I went into as much detail as I could. If there's anything that I missed or any questions you still have, please ask them. I'd be happy to talk about them. And anyone who went to Sick New World, I'd love to hear about your experience. Sorry to anybody who had a bad experience at this festival. Overall, my experience was great, just aside from the fact that I probably got stolen from. So, yeah, I'm gonna end it here. So, thanks. And, yeah, goodbye.